Go AFK in the audience, like yeah, just like ping me or Eric if you need anything.
Yep.
Do you leave stage?
Okay. He's gone now. Okay, let me share my screen. Here we go. We even got a little face cam going. Hello, everybody. Say hello in the chat, guys. So, this is my lecture on how we are gonna get yoked or jacked. Not particularly for this summer. It's a little late for this summer, but at least for next summer, you're gonna look pretty good using what I'm gonna teach you in this lecture. So, first point on the agenda is that nowadays, looking like Tobey Maguire in 2002 is not that impressive anymore. With increased use of social media, obviously people compare themselves and compare other people to idols that are on massive amounts of steroids, and um, by that, physique inflation is a thing, right? Yeah, exactly, yoke inflation. Basic inflation for money, right? Same thing for physiques. So more jacked physiques, like back in the 2000s, this was a crazy physique. This was the dream physique of a lot of people, at least. This was the dream physique of my father back then. And nowadays we have dream physiques like this, or we have just random 18-year-olds looking like this already. Um, the first objection, which I've heard countless of times when telling people to finally go lift, especially from my class, let me give you a little story time. I basically got my whole class, my whole 10th grade class into lifting. Um, I basically told them about my dreams to become a bodybuilder, which was the case at that time. And all of them were like, oh, this will take way too long, right? And I really never understood that objection. It's like, it's gonna take too long. With any goal that you have, if you say it's gonna take too long, like the time is gonna pass anyway, right? So, to be fair, it is going to take a long time to get to a physique like this, right? Like a Jeff Seed physique, or a physique like this, or a physique like this. First of all, you're probably never gonna get there because it takes insane genetics to get to something as visually appealing as these three people. There's a reason why those guys are. What crypto do you want me to invest in? Alright, I'm gonna turn off chat because I'm gonna get distracted. So basically, these guys have elite genetics. They respond super well to steroids, and they have very nice symmetry in their abs and in their chest and in their legs, right? This is why they have a lot of following on social media. The first point, you're probably never gonna get as crazy as this. There is potential to get very close though, even without steroids, and we have that in slide 3, I believe. I believe this is a natural obtainable physique right here. And you would probably say, okay, if you're not an experienced lifter, you would probably say, okay, I don't really see too much of a difference here. Trust me, there's a huge difference, right? That's like 5 years of extra training. So yeah, it's gonna take very long. For this guy, I believe he's been training for like 10 years, right? So it's gonna take crazy long. This is my transformation for my first 3 years of training. I'm closing in on 3.5 years now. So this is what I looked like around December. I since then have bulked up a bit, which was a mistake to be fair, but we're going to cover that in the future slides. So this was my starting point right here. As you can see, I was pretty fat, right? Not a lot of muscle. I was the worst build possible that you can have. There's 3 builds that you can have. You can be super fat, you can be super skinny, or you can be something in between, which is like barely any muscle while also being fat, which is called being skinny fat. So I was skinny fat, and I made the mistake of doing a super aggressive cut. And basically, I just wanted to get lean and to get abs. As you can see, this did not really work because I didn't train my abs at that time. Abs are not made in the kitchen. Like basically every fitness influencer says, you actually have to train your abs to see them. Obviously, this is also genetic, right? A lot of this is genetic, but just to be safe, if you don't know if you have abs or not, train a lot, right? Train them as much as you train shoulders. So after 1.5 years, I kind of looked like this, right? I looked like malnourished even. You can see my ribs right here. Abs are not overrated. We're gonna get into that as well. Right, I kind of look malnourished, which is the result of doing an aggressive cut, but I still retain some sort of muscle, right? But I could have gained a lot more. I believe I could have been here in about 2 years if I hadn't done that. Then fast forward 1.5 years later again, I look like this, which, to be fair, I'm not really lean here, right? I still have a bunch of fat on my body, and still, even at this moment, if I do a quick bicep flex in front of 17 people, I've always wanted to do that. Like, there's a little bit of definition here, right? Because the lighting is pretty good, but even still, like, there's a lot of fat on my body, right? So we're gonna get into later my great cutting hacks, which I promise you've never seen before. Maybe some of them you have. But yeah, this is me after 3 years. As you can see, nowhere near this, right? Still above average physique, I would say, for the average person, but nowhere near Jeff Saeed level or Dorian level or Trent Twin level, obviously because they're on steroids. So how do we get this look, right? How do we even attain this? Well, first we got to analyze what even makes this look visually attractive. And after the slide, I'm going to open chat again and read some messages. I didn't really think this was going to be so hard to dual focus. What's that called? Anyway, okay. So the main thing for male physiques is going to be the V-taper. The main thing that is going to make you look good is having a dominant upper torso area, right? This makes you look way more just dominant, and that's basically what you want as a male. If you are a straight male and you're trying to appeal to females, right? This is what this is about, or at least this is what it should be about if you're watching this lecture. I believe it's also true if you're gay, but I'm not gay, so I don't really know. Yeah, you just want to have a very dominant upper torso. That includes muscles, which we're going to cover in this slide, like the upper chest and the side delts, which just makes the frame wider, and the neck and traps. But it all comes down to the shoulder to waist ratio in the end. Well, fullness of the upper torso and shoulder to waist ratio are the two most important things. If you are already lean, right? Being lean obviously comes first. So to get this look, like we can compare this side by side. This is a guy that has way more muscle than this guy, but it wouldn't even seem like it, right? To a not very experienced lifter. Like, this guy looks way more muscular because his frame is wider, and if you were to draw a line from the shoulders to the waist, the angle would be sharper, right? It would go in more than if we were to do it for this guy. Also, the distance from your shoulders to your head is important as well, right? So it's not just this angle right here, but it's also this part right here. So you just want to have a very wide frame. There's people that have narrow clavicles, and there's people that have wide clavicles, which is basically what dictates a bunch of how wide you're going to get. And that's purely genetic. Like, you cannot change that. I believe there's a surgery for it, but that's just... Okay, I almost said the R word. That's just stupid. Right, there's a guy, to be fair, he's doing a pose right there where his shoulders are moved back, but you can see the smaller this angle gets, the worse or the less muscular you look in the end. So you really want to have this V shape, and that's all going to be built by having very big side delts. Obviously, having a tiny waist is going to benefit you as well, which is why we want to be lean, right? Is first of all tiny waist, and second of all, you're going to get abs and you're going to get muscle definition. If you're fat, well, I guess he's kind of not really fat in this picture, but you don't see a ton of definition. So a girl or a non-experienced lifter, which basically most girls are not going to see a difference, right? If you have a lot of muscle, but you have a layer of fat above it, which just doesn't show you definition, you're going to call it cold fat. Like, people don't even recognize it. If you're going to show it to, like, show two pictures of a guy like this and a guy like this to a 5-year-old, like, the 5-year-old is going to say, obviously, this guy is more muscular, while in truth, this guy benches a lot more and has a way bigger chest and arms, right? All right, so how do we enhance the V-taper? How do we build the V-taper? Well, there's actually two ways you can lift. There's one for aesthetics and there's one for just pure size, right? And this is not entirely true, but oversimplifying this, especially for new lifters, which I imagine a lot of you are, is going to be more beneficial than going into the deep science of it, right? So before we actually cover this, I want to read chat a little bit. So if you have questions so far or comments so far, then yeah, exactly. CBum off season is considered a dad bod nowadays, right? And if you don't know CBum is the IFBB Pro Mr. Olympia currently. I don't know if he is currently, but he has like 5 titles, I believe. Let me see. CBum off season. Alright, these pictures are pretty crazy, but this is okay. The zooming is just yeah, this is what's considered a, not really, to be fair. Like, you can see here he's pretty shredded, right, even in off season, but if he had a bunch more fat than this, then he would be considered a so-called dad bod. And yeah, exactly, Opera GX, don't clown me for that, right? I just don't like the RAM usage, especially because I'm on Windows. I know, I'm a Windows guy. Burn me at the stake already. Alright, so let's get into the 7 aesthetic muscles, which you're gonna have to prioritize. Yeah, exactly, I keep edge pinned as well. Yeah, you have to, bro. It's the most important, it's the one true browser. Okay, these 7 most aesthetic muscles there are going to be, again, the muscles that are going to widen your upper torso. First of all, abs, but okay, fair enough, that doesn't widen your upper torso, but you still want to be lean enough and you still want to have abs. Like, I cannot explain how important it actually is to be lean and to have abs, right? If you don't have muscle definition, it's not, like, you're not going to be recognized as a very muscular person. Abs are not the #1 important thing, I think, but they're up there. So the other muscles, like the next muscle is going to be the side deltoid, right here, the blue marked muscle, which is going to be, if I don't want to take my shirt off completely, but you see I have pretty bad shoulders, to be fair. I just have white clavicles. Yeah, side delt, right? Going to make your frame bigger, going to make you look wider. The next one is going to be the upper traps, which is going to give you the thick appearance from the back, as you can see here. And also, if you go back one, that's actually this part right here is also upper trap, right? So it still makes your upper torso bigger and gets more attention to your upper torso. Yeah, calves are important as well. The next muscle is going to be the neck. You can see right here, the person with the small neck obviously is just perceived as less dominant as the person with the large neck, right? And yeah, most people don't train their neck. How you train your neck, we're going to cover in the exercise portion. But neck is like the most overlooked muscle there is. Especially when you have your shirt on. Like, most natural lifters will not be recognized as lifters at all when they have their shirt on. You gotta have to have elite genetics to be able to see yourself, or for other people to see your muscles through your shirt, right? or you have to be on steroids. But we're not going to discuss steroids here because we are family friendly. The next muscle is going to be the upper chest. The, in my opinion, second most neglected muscle for the upper torso, for aesthetics. You can see right here Andrew Tate as a bad example. You see Andrew Tate, besides this guy right here, I would say it's pretty clear who looks, like if you take away the face, who looks more appealing, right? Like, that sounds so gay, I'm sorry. It is a little, but, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to clarify, but, you know, Tate is in this slide right here is a bad example because he doesn't have any upper chest. He just doesn't train upper chest. Well, he actually does according to mainstream fitness, but according to me and according to science-based lifters, I know here the second wave of hate comes. Yeah, he actually does not. The upper chest is going to give you the full chest look like this guy has, right? You can see it's nice and round right here. And with Andrew Tate, you can see it kind of just sags into his collarbone and then just kind of pops back up. Like it looks like he got man titties, right? And we don't want that. We want a nice and full chest. So the mid portion and the lower portion of the chest actually gets trained when you train your upper chest, which is going to be trained like this, an exercise portion. So me personally, I've never really trained mid and lower pecs as much, but I've only trained upper pecs. And if you can see right here, like still even I don't have that big of an upper chest, but I still have like a pretty, what's the word? Pretty balanced chest, I would say, right? It's not too dominant in any of those three aspects. So, right, the last muscle is going to be the lats, right? That's going to be this portion right here. I believe, yeah, here. And the lats is going to accentuate the V-taper style, right? It's going to accentuate the dominant upper torso again and the less dominant lower torso. And it's going to do that by basically caving inwards, right? It's the back muscle, this right here, which is shown a little bit in the front, but the more developed you have it, the better, right? It also pushes out your shoulders a bit, so it makes the frame a little wider. You can see if this is me normally, and this is me with my lats like shown, right? I'm obviously not going to take my shirt off, but it makes the frame wider a little bit as well. So having big lats is also a big thing. Now, let's skip the split for now. Let's look at the exercises for, let me actually look at chat. Are there health benefits of building like this over other approaches? I know there's this thing called functional fitness. Exactly. So this is not a lecture about pure health, right? Obviously, we're going to get into health with diet, but we're not discussing health as a main point here, right? Obviously, being healthy is pretty good as well, but being healthy is going to include mostly just taking a walk every day or just having a big number of steps, right? You have people doing step count, like I try to hit 10,000 steps a day. And also mobility is going to be an important thing. So you don't really do exercises for health, you kind of do more stretches, right? Like you stretch a lot. Yeah, exactly. We're not discussing health. So we're discussing appeal and looks in terms of your body, because who doesn't want to look jacked and cool when you have your shirt off at the pool in the summer, right? I wouldn't even call this looks maxing technically, because if we go into the online space of looks maxing, it's a lot of, oh, you cannot improve on this, you cannot improve on this, and this is depressing like that and stuff. But I still think there's a valid approach to say, okay, you still should try to look better, right? Obviously. And we could get into not right, we could get into what is the purpose of this even, right? Obviously, the first step is going to be accepting yourself, right? This is the absolute first step that you need to do. There's a lot of people who get into fitness right here and they get completely insecure about their body because they compare themselves to other people. But that's largely not because of fitness itself, in my opinion. That's largely because of social media. People like that have a crippling social media addiction, and that's my main reason, basically, why I quit social media altogether. So you still cannot deny that there are benefits to looking better, right? So as well, it's a pretty nice hobby, right? Like it's fun to go to the gym. For me, it's not even to look as good as possible anymore. It's just I enjoy doing the exercises. It's a nice side effect to look nice as well, right? Add me to stage. I don't know if I can. I don't have the power. I don't have the divine power for that. Maybe Eric can, but let's not do that right now. Let's fast forward a few slides. We're almost, I would say we have like 20 minutes more to go, and then we can do something, right? Some discussion sort of thing. So I kind of got off track, right? What are the exercises that we're gonna use to train, let's say, neck or upper chest, which are very heavily neglected, right? So to train neck, you're mainly gonna, and I forgot to actually include a neck training exercise in here, my apologies. But for neck, you're actually going to get a weight and then put your towel on top of that weight, and you lay down on the bench, but just imagine this part gone. Just imagine me being 90 degrees, or like laying on the bench instead of sitting upright, and this part being gone, so my head is floating in the air. You put a weight on your head, or if you've never done it before, obviously don't put a weight on your head, and you just let your head fall back, and then you just curl your neck up. It's called neck curls. And that's basically how you build a pretty wide neck. And even without that, you can see my neck is not super wide, right? Like if I look straight into the camera like this, it doesn't really look like I have a huge neck, right? Even though I've been training neck for like 2 years. So that just shows that you don't really overtrain neck, and you don't really look like this all the time. This is with me pulling my traps up and kind of like pushing everything forward. You're not gonna look like that on a day-to-day, but you're gonna look better the wider your neck is to an extent, obviously, but again, you're not gonna overtrain it. You're gonna have to watch out for injuries though. Like, do it nice and controlled. Don't go to failure on neck training. And yeah, let's continue with upper chest. So upper chest, what the upper chest does, and a lot of people get this wrong, even in the fitness industry, like personal trainers get this wrong. Personal trainers will usually recommend you do incline bench press, right? So incline bench press looks like this. You have the two weights right here, and then you have the weights basically on your chest, but not quite, and then you just press up like this, right? And if you go a little bit like this is incline bench, right? You have either long barbell or 2 dumbbells. If you go right here, I believe I did not include it because it's suboptimal. Oh, it's suboptimal. Yeah, no, I'm science-based, I'm sorry. But what the chest actually does, if you go into a little bit of human anatomy, the chest brings your, I believe this is called the femur. I'm not too crazy with scientific, what's it called, expressions, right? But the inner side of your elbow, the chest brings the inner side of your elbow on the other side of your body. If you just all do that right now, you're gonna feel your chest tense up, right? Gonna feel your chest be activated. If you just do this right here, you're not gonna feel your chest activated as much. And the only reason that benching or pressing movements actually activate and grow the chest is because while you're doing that movement, right, you're bringing, if you have a nice angle right here, you're bringing, while benching, you're bringing the inside of your elbow a little bit closer to the other side. Ideally, you would just bring it to the other side like this. So this is a big misconception in the fitness community. To train your chest is not actually to do presses, and presses are still super fun. I still do presses, don't get me wrong. I still love to bench, obviously. Quick flex, my bench PR is like 110 kilos. But like, it's not going to be super optimal to grow your chest. At the end of the day, it's still going to be enough, and it's not going to make a huge difference. But if we have a super targeted muscle like the upper chest, which is super hard to grow, then you're going to want to hit it pretty well, right? So again, follow along with me. Doing this right here, you feel your whole chest activated. Now, what the upper chest does, because it's connected to the actual front delt shoulder muscle, I'll get this handle out of the way. What the upper chest does is bring the inside of your elbow up and across of your body, right? So instead of just going like this, which activates the whole chest, you're going like this up, right? And then it activates, well, lighting is kind of bad. Let me see. Maybe you can kind of see it getting activated, right? If you're following along, you're gonna notice a big difference. Yeah, Troy, we're gonna let you talk after I'm finished. Sorry. Or, not sorry, we're gonna have a discussion round after this. I don't think anybody's too limited on time, right? At least I'm not. Exactly, so that's gonna be for upper chest. So, for people in here that don't want to be too nerdy about this, that just want to do at least the least amount that they can, which I imagine is the right approach, right? Because you shouldn't be obsessed with this. It's pretty fun to get obsessed with this, and you're going to be more consistent with it, obviously. But in my experience, for your mental health, just don't get too obsessed with this stuff, right? For people like that who are like, okay, programming and software engineering is my biggest focus. I don't really want to have another big thing that I have to focus on in my life. Here's a training plan for you where you can basically like cover everything and just make all the gains passively, and you just don't really have to think about it. So first thing we have to cover is the split, right? Oh damn. Okay. Yeah, lying hamstring curl is suboptimal as well because you tilt your pelvis, but that's too nerdy, right? We don't really care about legs. No, we're still gonna train legs, obviously. So there are a bunch of different splits, right? And I'm gonna assume that most of the people in here don't really know too much about gym or lifting. So I'm just gonna basically recommend one and you just stick with it, right? So there's a fun factor to a split, and a split is basically how often you train your muscle during the week. And then there's a how optimal it is factor, right? So to be fair, I would recommend for a beginner that is starting out in the gym, I would recommend that beginner to not do a too optimal split as I'm doing personally, but I would recommend them to do a pretty fun split. So what I'm actually going to recommend, what I would recommend for totally optimal is going to be lifting 3 times per week, but just training full body. The thing is, with a split, you have muscle hypertrophy and muscle atrophy, right? Hypertrophy means building muscle, atrophy means muscle vanishes. And by the way, if you want to keep this physique, I should have mentioned this at the start. If you want to keep this physique, you have to keep training forever. Like, if you're going to stop training, the muscle is going to vanish and you're going to look skinny again, or yeah, you're going to look skinny again if you're lean from this point on, right? So, but it doesn't take as much effort to maintain a body as it does to building it. To build it, I would say like 3 days a week, just training the full body is going to be enough, and it's going to be pretty good in the terms of how much muscle you build, right? From obviously, if you go 4 times a week, 5 times a week, and then 6 times a week, it increases, but increases the opposite of exponentially, right? Like it decreases exponentially the results that you're gonna get. So this is basically once per week, twice per week, 3 times per week, and then 4 times per week, 5 times per week. And this is basically how much muscle you're gonna get, right? It gets to an insignificant amount the more that you lift. 3 times is pretty good. So I would recommend a beginner to do full body 3 times per week. But here's the thing. If you do that, you're not going to get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I've had 2 friends in my life that have tried to do this because they have had a personal trainer recommend this to them, and they didn't really enjoy lifting. Like you have to be some kind of weird person to enjoy lifting because it's pretty painful to go to failure, and it's pretty painful to feel your muscles literally rip apart, right? So most people just don't enjoy the feeling. You get used to it after some while, and then I believe you can start to enjoy it. But most people are not going to stick around because of that feeling and because the split itself is just not going to be fun. So I do want to make it fun as well, because otherwise you're not going to be consistent, right? All right. So we can do full body 3 times per week, and that'd be pretty nice because muscles start to deteriorate every 48 hours. So 48 hours after you've trained a muscle, let's say you've hit chest, and then 48 hours, so 2 days after that, you don't hit chest again, your muscle is going to start to atrophy. So it's going to start to decrease in size and decrease in mass. So ideally, you want to hit a muscle every 3 days a week, right? If you leave a 2-day period. So every 48 hours, ideally, you would hit a muscle. And doing full body 3 times per week gets pretty close to that. If you're interested, my personal split right now is upper lower. I do upper on Monday, lower on Tuesday, upper on Wednesday. Like upper, lower, upper. Then I have a rest day. I again do upper, then lower, then upper. And then again I do a rest day. So it kind of like shifts once every week. That way I have the upper body, which is my main focus, obviously. Like nobody really cares about your legs as long as they're not like super small. In terms of aesthetics, right? Obviously, if you're trying to have a big squat as Troy, I can imagine Troy arguing for, but yeah, you want to squat a lot, you want to like lift a lot of weight, and that's super fun, but it's realistically not going to get you as far in terms of aesthetics as training for aesthetics, right? Like a swimmer is not going to be as good at basketball if he doesn't train for basketball. Like it's 2 different sports. So what's the fun split that you actually should do? In my opinion, you should do push-pull legs. Push-pull legs is undoubtedly the most fun I've ever had on a split. Bro split is super fun, but with bro split, you train every muscle group that you're supposed to train once a week, and that's in terms of what's called frequency, it's not that good, right? So PPL, push-pull legs, is pretty nice, where you do all your push movements, or basically the front side of your body, mainly, like your chest and your triceps, which is actually going to be this muscle right here. Lighting is so... yeah, exactly. So this muscle right here, the triceps, which you're going to do with push downs. Chest, triceps, shoulders, front delts. I used to throw neck in there as well, and abs I would do on leg day. Then for the second day, so push, then you have pull, right? You have your back. Everything that's pull motion is usually back. So you have your lats, which we're going to discuss how to train. It's usually motion like this, or motion like this. Your traps, wait, let me actually just show you a picture. I'm goofing around here. Your traps, right here, right? Pull movement again. And your biceps is also pull movement. So you have every push movement on push day, every pull movement on pull day. You can vary, want to exercise, you can switch over to the days as you wish, obviously. It's not all set in stone, right? And then you have leg day, and you just train legs. Basically, like you extend the knee, what's the opposite of extend? Retract? I don't know. I'm not too good at English. Yeah, that's basically the 3 things that you do. And that's 3 days a week, right? One for each day. And I would space them out so that, like, obviously, optimally, you're gonna have Monday, then Wednesday, then Friday, and you have the weekend all to yourself. But if you prefer, like if you have a 9 to 5, that's pretty hard to maintain. So you might want to train on the weekends. And let's say you just have school on Monday and you want to do it on Tuesday. So like Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturday. Obviously, you can put it in the week however long you want, right? Rest day between each, ideally, so you recover properly. And yeah. Now we get into the exercises that we're going to do. So again, main focus of ours is going to be big upper torso, a little bit lower, like smaller lower torso, and just maintaining or slightly growing legs. Like for the average human being, the legs are already pretty good in size that it's not going to like negatively impact your visuals, right? So for the first muscle, and this one is trained incorrectly a lot of the time, or not incorrectly, but again, there's a lot of misconception in the fitness community where it says, okay, lat pull downs train your lats, which is partially true, right? What the lats does, let me get up here. What the lats does, it's this muscle right here. What the lats actually does is it pulls your elbow to your hip, right? So ideally, you're going to have a movement that pulls your elbow to your hip, right? Boom. This is a lat pullover. It's got lat in the name because it trains lat. This is going to train your lower lat, and then there's an upper portion of the lat as well. And then there's a small muscle which I actually don't know the name of, but you're going to train that with the side portion. So what a lat pull down does, right here, you can see the motion right here. You start right here, and you pull down, right? Pretty simple. But what actually happens and why you train that is, again, because your elbow is being pulled towards your waist, right? And there's two ways we can pull your elbow towards our waist. First, horizontally, and then second, vertically. I hope I got this right. Horizontally and vertically, it's like right and left. It's pretty hard for me. Okay. So you can do both, and both train the lat, but the vertical one trains more of the upper portion of the lat, right? And the horizontal one is going to train more of the lower portion of the lat in terms of fibers, right? Obviously, it's one big muscle and it's going to grow in both parts regardless. We can still have bias in terms of muscle fibers. Just like the chest is often looked at as 3 separate muscles, but it's just one muscle, right? But you can still bias one area of that muscle more than the other areas, and that area is going to get more stimulus for growth. All right, so that's for lats, right? This is one of the important muscles that we need to train to get the V shape. Next is going to be upper traps or mid traps as well. You cannot really train traps that wrongly. Most people, no man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It's a shame for a man to grow. Yeah, exactly. I love that quote. A lot of people for their traps, right, do a rowing movement. Basically, if you sit upright like this, right? What the traps actually do is they protract or retract. Protract is zusammenziehen, I believe. So they pull together your shoulder blades, right? As you can see right here. This is one of the best exercises you can do for it. You pull together your shoulder blades. If you just do that right now with me, just shoulder blades to the back, like you can feel your traps being activated. Versus if you do this, like your traps are being activated in a row. Contraction, exactly, contraction, not protraction. So let me actually just do this. I hope this is seeable. if you pull like a row, yeah, your traps are going to get involved. But why? Because while you're doing the rowing movement, you're actually also contracting your shoulder blades, right? So the traps contract your shoulder blades. So why not just leave this part of the motion out and just contract your shoulder blades, right? What this part does of the movement of a row is actually train your lat, right? Because remember, what does the lat do? Pull the elbow towards your hip. So this is a nice lat movement if you isolate it like this and you don't pull your shoulder blades back, right? A row is very nice, very good for the lat, but not so much for the traps. So ideally for the traps, you're going to want to do Kelso shrugs, and that's the picture right here. Yeah, I mean, you can obviously still do rows for the traps, right? But you're also going to have to realize that you're also training the lat, right? And if you've isolated the lat, like you've only trained the lat in a specific exercise for the lat previously, you're going to have to realize that it's fatigued, right? If you trained the lat right before you're doing rows, your lat is going to be the muscle that gives out first. So you're not going to be able to train your traps efficiently if you just train lats and you do an exercise that trains both, because your lat is going to be fatigued. So you do Keenan flaps, because again, the traps pull your shoulder blades back. Not Keenan flaps. Keenan flaps are something else. We're not going to cover Keenan flaps. Those are too advanced. And those are, well, to be fair, those are quite fun. Keenan flaps are where you have weight pulling up and you pull down like this. Doesn't matter. All right. We're going to do Kelso shrugs. So ideally you have a setup like this. You can also do this with dumbbells, right? You can just get a bench and just get 2 dumbbells in your hands. This is what I normally do. And then just lean over and then just do this, right? You can go very heavy on this. Your traps hold more weight than you're going to realize. I believe I am doing like, what was it, like 36 kg now? Let me see what that's in pounds per dumbbell. That's around 80 pounds per dumbbell, right? Obviously don't start with that much. I would start, as a beginner, I would start with like 16 kg, just 20 kg less, which is like 45 pounds less. Yeah, like 35 pounds. You can start and try and see, okay, how does that feel? Okay, am I hitting the right muscle? Ideally, if you have a friend and you're going with a friend, this is a very nice tip if you're training with someone. Have that friend touch your traps, or like tap your traps, right? Like this, like they're playing piano. So that way you have a sensation inside of your traps to basically get more of a mind-muscle connection. And that way you can really focus on using your traps instead of using any other muscle. All right. So for your exercises for, yeah, exactly, nothing better than bro touching you. For your exercises for pull day, you're going to do lat pull over, and get a personal trainer to teach you how to do this, because this exercise is super easy to get wrong, right? If you don't have a free personal trainer at your gym, like I do, I can just hit up one of the guys and tell him, yo, can you show me the form of this exercise? If you don't have that, just stick to lat pull downs. There's still like, the difference between those is so insignificant, or to be fair, not really. Like, you're gonna get more gains obviously from this in your lats, but it's so little that you shouldn't really worry about it. I personally find these way more fun, and I don't feel these at all in my lats. Like, I hate this exercise personally. I've hated it since I've tried it, since I've started lifting. Just because me personally, I've never been able to get this right? But I've been able to get this one right. So you're gonna have to find out, okay, which one is going to be better for me. Obviously, you're gonna have, like, you can just ask one of the people, like the employees in your gym, hey, could you just really quick show me the form to this exercise? And they're gonna do it probably, right? You don't need a personal trainer for it. You can get one if you want, and he just goes over your whole workout and shows you the form. But definitely not a necessity. So that's for your pull day, right? You have lat pullovers or lat pull down. depending on which one you prefer. Then you have the Kelsor shrugs. Then you should also have, to be fair, bicep curls. I don't know why I didn't put them in here. Then you have bicep curls. Those are pretty straightforward. Just do preacher curls, ideally. And what preacher curls are, I'm going to show you real quick. Preacher curl, like normal bicep curls, you just stand and you just do this, right? With preacher curls, you have a bench, right? Like this. You pull the bench back a little, and that way you have support like this, and you're leaning back, and you're doing this, and you get a nice stretch, even though this stretch isn't really necessary for hypertrophy. But you don't want to go all the way down. You might have seen a video which is pretty scary, which tears your bicep. You're not going to tear your bicep if you don't go super heavy and ego lift on it. Like, don't ego lift on biceps. That's the most stupid thing you can do. But that's like one of the best exercises in terms of stability, right? Because what happens most of the time when people do bicep curls is they're gonna, if we just, gosh, this light, wait, maybe this is better. Go like this. Okay. So most people, instead of just doing this, right? Even I'm doing it, right? Even though I don't have any weight, go back like this, right? And use their rear delt as well in the exercise, like this, right? So ideally what you want to have is something blocking your elbow from going back, and then you have pure bicep activation. Yeah, ego lifting while squatting can, that's why I don't squat. You might call me a female man, a femboy. I'm a femboy for not squatting, to be honest. But but I don't squat because, first of all, I have an injury in my foot that doesn't allow me to squat, but I don't want to fuck on my back, right? It's such a dangerous exercise. If you're not a powerlifter, don't squat. Even though I say that, and even though I still have a squatting exercise that I'm going to recommend you guys, but this one is more stable. So for biceps, again, stability, right? And those are the criteria as well for exercise in general. If you want to look into other exercises, is how stable is it, and how well am I able to load this exercise, right? How good can I add weight to that exercise? So for, let's say, what's an exercise that you cannot add a lot of weight to? Okay, so you have the, you remember the chest contraction, right? Just going overboard with chest. If you go overboard, like normally you have this right here, a fly, right? If you do it one-armed, which I'm going to recommend to you guys as well, and you go way overboard and you go way deep into the stretch like this, you're not going to get out, and you're going to, what's auskuhlen in English? Let me actually just look up the word. You're gonna dislocate your shoulder, right? You're gonna dislocate your shoulder, and you cannot, like, if you add more weight from this position, if this is your starting position and you go all the way like this part of the movement you're not gonna be able to move, right? Because the leverage of the chest is so bad, right? Like, you're gonna have to start 90 degrees neutral to the chest, if you look like this, right? 90 degrees neutral to the chest, and then go inside. This is ideal. You don't want to hyperextend, because then you're not going to be able to use your chest efficiently. So look at, if you're doing an exercise wrong, that's a big indicator. Like, not being able to load it is a big indicator of you're doing it wrong, because in most exercises you should be able to load it correctly. And just, I cannot think of an exercise right now which isn't really good to load, like, by the nature of itself. Obviously I performed this exercise wrong, that's why I'm not able to load it. But yeah. Okay, now I lost my train of thought. Dang it. Let's just continue with the exercises. Alright, to get, again, we're doing wide upper torso. What was the absolutely most important one that I mentioned. I don't even think I said it was the most important one, but the most important one by far is the side delt, right? The wider your frame is, the narrower your waist appears, and the more of a V shape you have. You can even see people with a very wide waist compared to the rest of their body, right? Like Hunter right here, that's his name. This guy, comparatively to the rest of his body, like he just has a very wide body, right? And obviously his waist is also going to be bigger. But because he has very wide shoulders, like he has huge shoulders, right? Because of that, the V-line, like the angle, is still pretty good. And he still looks amazing, obviously, right? Because his shoulders and his frame are so wide that his waist still looks small, even though it's pretty large. So shoulders are undoubtedly the most important muscle in terms of aesthetics, in my opinion, right? Again, I'm not a sport nutrition scientist, so you can listen to me whether you want or not. But yeah, so shoulders. Ideally, you have a machine like this, right? Shoulders are also easy to get wrong. Why? Because when you're doing shoulder exercises, right? When you're doing shoulder raises, people that actually know the form are going to scream at me. Most beginners, lift up the wrist higher than the elbow. Now, again, what does the shoulder do? Again, I don't even, why am I saying again? I have not mentioned this, but a muscle basically does what, not rotator cuff. Rotator cuff is for this one specifically. But the joint that it's attached to, the joint it's attached to, it's going to move. That's basically what the muscle does, right? So the side delt is attached to the shoulder joint, so it's going to move the shoulder joint. Regardless of your hand being here, being here, being here, being here, just getting your elbow up is going to move your shoulder, and it's going to activate your shoulder fibers. Let me actually see if this is better. I guess. Is this better, chat? I feel like a streamer. Oh, hell no. This is better. Okay. So, moving your elbow out to the side is going to activate your side delt, right? Moving your elbow out to the front is going to activate your front delt, right? That's why it's called front delt. Moving your elbow out to the back is going to activate your rear delt. I know I have to train rear delts, they're not very big on me. So, ideally, what you want for training the side delt is going to be an exercise that puts load onto your elbow and then you pull your elbow up, right? So what normal lifters do that don't have this machine is they take a dumbbell. Let me see, take this plushie as a dumbbell. They take the dumbbell and they do this. Oh, damn, my accent. Okay. They do this, right? Now, why is this worse? Because the weight is attached to the wrist. And that way, first of all, the bicep and tricep, which are attached to the elbow joint, have to stabilize, right? So first of all, you have stabilizer muscles that are active. You could argue, okay, well, I need those stabilizer muscles, but those get trained anyway if you do bicep and tricep. Those are not really so significant. If you want to train your stabilizer muscles, go do some kettlebells. And that's valid. Like, if you want to do that, do that. So ideally, you want to have something on here, and you're going to do like this. Now, if you're going to follow along with me real quick, if you just move up your elbow like this, right? Just do a lateral raise like you would normally do. You're going to notice that pull this back, that your shoulder itself gets pulled up a bit, right? It doesn't just rotate up, it gets pulled up a little bit if you do this, right? Just normally. This is your traps getting involved. Like this muscle right here. That's your traps getting involved. Ideally, we want to limit this, but it's not super necessary to limit this. So we want to have... Hi.
Vil du have før pizza?
Nee, klar nicht, danke. Kannst du
Kein
rausgehen?
Hunger? Hm?
Danke.
Sorry.
That's my mom. Okay. Ideally, we want to have your shoulder not be raised. Yeah, exactly. We want to have your shoulder not be raised. It's not the end of the world. Obviously, you know, this is me being autistic again. This is me, you know, saying, you shouldn't do that. It's not the end of the world. But you're going to overtrain your traps if you blindly do dumbbell curls like this, right? You can see, right? I'm kind of, okay, the shirt is getting in the way. I might as well just take off my shirt, but I can't do that. So basically you're gonna notice that once you get to about here, if you try to keep your shoulder down, once you get to about here, you're gonna automatically wanna get your shoulder up because your shoulder doesn't really have that range of motion. At least mine doesn't, right? Maybe I just have a genetic mutation or something. But a lot of my friends also cannot do that. Like, pull your shoulder down real hard and just try to get 90 degrees, right? Like, it's pretty hard. What that entails is that this part of the shoulder movement is actually the major part, right? This is the majority of what the shoulder does, from here to about here. This last part isn't really necessary because at this point, your traps get involved and your shoulder just gets pulled up. So, if you find yourself reaching failure on lateral raises, where you cannot pull up all the way, right? And you can only do this, keep going. Because all that basically happened is that your very top of the exercise, where the traps get involved, your traps are fatigued now. So your shoulder still has juice if you can do this, right? Excuse me. So if you can only do this and you think, oh, I reached failure, you haven't, right? You reach failure when you cannot move the muscle anymore. Like you cannot do the action that the muscle wants. Like this is failure. If I try to, and I cannot move it anymore, this is failure, right? Train to failure every single exercise as well. Because anything short of that, obviously, there's going to be people saying, oh, 1 rep short of failure, 2 reps short of failure. A lot of signs on that's basically also fine. But if you're a beginner lifter, you don't know where failure is. Like there's been multiple times where I thought I am a total failure, even after 2 years of lifting. And then basically my friend pushed me so hard that I still managed to get 5 more reps. And it's maybe some people who have trained before don't believe me because failure is failure. You cannot manipulate your muscle, right? It's physical tissue. It's not something you can just mind manipulate, but it really is. This is actually going to be maybe you're going to believe me on this experience or maybe not. I've had this experience maybe like 3 times throughout my 3 years of lifting. And basically what happened is that when you reach failure, and true failure, I mean, where it's like on a muscle that actually hurts, like the legs, right? When you do hack squats, like this exercise right here, you reach true failure. Like you're in this position and you're pressing as hard as you can to try and get up, and the weight is just not moving. Like you're stuck in that position. Like you start to transcend reality. And I know that's transcend reality, whatever. But it's kind of like a meditative state you get into because the physical pain is so overwhelming that your mind kind of like moves up a protection or something in your mind, I guess. Again, happened to me like 3 times. You don't need to push that far. It's like I like to push myself as far as I can to see how far I can get, right? But again, just go until your muscle stops moving, right? For your bicep as well. Bicep, I feel like, is a nicer example. If you go like this, right, with the support, and then you're like right here, and you try to move up and you cannot move up anymore, just stop. But that's when you reach failure, right? A lot of people, they recommend, or a lot of fitness people used to recommend, now it's not really the consensus anymore. Did I use consensus right there? I don't know. But it's not the popular opinion anymore that you do like 4 sets of 8 reps, for example. You just have that set in stone number, like 8 reps, and just do 8 reps no matter what. Even if you could do more, even if you, like, not even if you couldn't do more, right? Obviously, because then you couldn't do more, then you couldn't do 8 reps. But if you could do more, you would still only do 8 reps. Sorry, I had to clear my nose. So basically, you train to failure because you don't know where failure is yet. You don't just pick you don't just pick a number in your head and just try and reach that, and then if you reach that, you just stop, right? Obviously, that's good. That's a good tactic if you cannot reach that number, right? Aim for a number that you cannot reach or that you shouldn't be able to reach, and then you have that number of reps inside of that set, and then the next training session you're going to try to aim for one more rep where you're going to try to add a little bit of weight. Progressive overload is something that we should get into, which I now in hindsight completely forgot to cover. Like, I didn't make a slide for it. Partially because I don't really look into it. Like, I do progressive overload, but because I reach failure every single set, because I enjoy it so much, I basically automatically progressively overload, right? If I do 8 reps with, I don't know, I think I do like 30 kilos of that pullovers, and next session I go to failure again and I reach 9 reps. It's like, okay, good. I progressively overloaded. Progressive overload is basically just trying to do more and more and more to have your body adapt and force your body to add more and more and more muscle, right? So if you train to failure every single set and you honestly go to failure, right? A lot of people, like, I've had a friend and he used to fake failure. It's like, the only person, like, the only thing you're cheating is yourself, right? Because you're doing this for yourself. You're not doing this for anybody else. Why is my camera doing that? I've only noticed that now. Okay. You're only doing that for yourself, right? Like, you're not doing this for anybody. Like, I guess you're doing this for status as well, if you're going to be completely honest. Obviously, you're going to get more attraction from women. Obviously, you're going to get higher social status if you have a big bicep, right? If you look buff in clothes, right? But at the end of the day, you want this, and you're not doing the training session for somebody else, right? If you're training with somebody else, don't try to look tough, right? Just go to failure. If you don't pull any faces while going to failure, which, you know, props to you if you don't, but if that's you, then don't fake anything, right? My friend used to fake failure, and he was able to do like 5 more reps every single set, and he had trouble. He had a hard time actually growing a lot of muscle. All right. Let me actually read the full long thing that Judd wrote. Judd. Are you a chud? Judd. Alright, I'm sorry. That's so unfunny. Anecdote wall of text. No need to read this. Okay. My bad. I'm gonna read it anyway. I did 1 month of exercise at a local gym 3 years ago. It was an old gym, not the current cookie cutter gym chains. The owner was a ripped bald guy. Yeah, they're always bald because they take a ton of steroids, to be fair. In his 70s, so he's probably taking a lot of test, right? Like, to be fair, if you're old, take whatever you want, in my opinion. But don't go too overboard. But if you're old and you're not taking testosterone, I don't know what you're doing, because at that point your testosterone is declining. Why not, add it exogenously? You're not gonna get children anyway at that age, like at 70 plus, right? That's the biggest downside in my opinion, which is you're gonna be infertile if you blast. So the owner was a ripped bald guy in his 70s, black belt in Taekwondo, damn, karate, two sports, okay, and I don't know what else. 3 sports, okay. Anyway, he was a personal trainer, and I had personal trainer I had, and he was great. I just wanted to get fit, and he was like, "You just get fit by building up muscle." He started me on the treadmill, and when I gained a bit of endurance with the rowing machine, shoulders, chest, legs, push-ups, abs, exactly. I had a mental breakdance and didn't go back after the first month. Yeah. It was starting to feel so good going there though. It was only 50 euros a month? Where do you live, man? You live in freaking San Francisco or something. Let me actually just get my charging cable for my headphones because they're about to give out. So we don't want that. We should just plug that in. Where did I put that? Because then I won't be able to talk about it. Yeah, but the problem is, yeah, Spain. Damn, gyms are expensive in Spain. To be fair, I'm paying $100 a month. Right, I'm paying double. But we have a big sauna, big swimming pool as well. It's like all inclusive plus recovery. But for a normal gym, you should pay like $20 a month or like 30. 50 is kind of crazy. Okay. Yeah, but that's the problem though. If you start out going to the gym, like for 1 month, like it does feel good, but for some reason, like there always is mental resistance to going to the gym, right? Which is why ideally you go with a friend who is a little bit more experienced than you already, who already is consistent. So he pulls you, he like physically pulls you into the gym, right? Which is what I used to do with a friend of mine. And that way you get consistent yourself. Or you just make your training as fun as possible by maxing out your taste in music and just overdosing on caffeine, which I don't recommend, obviously. I'm not going to be held responsible for if anybody does that, or if anybody hurts themselves neck training as well, by the way. Um, but just maxing out fun in the gym is going to be super helpful if you're going alone, because after a month or like 2 or 3 months, you're gonna have a dry season, and everybody does have a dry season, right? Where they don't go for like 1 to 2 weeks. And after that dry season, most people just don't go at all, right? And they just let their gym membership run until like the end of the year, until they say like, "Oh, new year, new me, I'm gonna change this time." That's basically the whole entire business model of Planet Fitness, to be fair. It's just people who are inconsistent, which is why they're empty all the time, and which is why they have shitty equipment as well, because they don't actually want people to go in there. Yeah, exactly. You honor this man on Discord told me to do this. Yeah. You say run on loop lasting in my ears. Do we want to pull up some of my music? I have cringe as fuck music, but I can show you some of my music. This is actually a pretty good playlist. Like, if you just want to vibe and like dance between sets and stuff, this is in America somewhere. There was a place that had a membership that allowed you to get as many 200 milligram. Oh, a gram at a time. Damn. That's probably not. But that's a fire idea though. Like just giving people unlimited caffeine. I guess you have to stop at like 2 drinks though, because I believe a gram of caffeine is a tenth of a lethal dose actually. So yeah, white girl hardstyle, by far one of the best genres you can do for the gym. You vibe a lot, and it's just wait. Let me actually find one. Katy Perry is always nice. Alright, it's ads. Well, just wait for the ads to pass. We got completely off track. Damn. Let's see. Actually, before we continue, do you guys have stuff that you listen to in the gym? I want to get some perspective. While we do that, we can listen to some Katy Perry. Yeah, exactly, Nightcore as well. Nightcore, hardstyle. What else is there? The new kids nowadays listen to hard tech, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's like the TikTok stuff. And my little brother listens to it a lot. Oh yeah. I don't know what those pictures are, Albie, but I'm guessing they're album covers, or... Oh no, those are... Okay. Yeah. Fair. How do you think it's making you retarded? So this is basically it. It's like boom, 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 right? While having a heavily voice singing to your ear. It's nice. Very loud. It's very loud and scary, yeah? Okay. Well, it's pretty nice if you're trying to push yourself, if you're, Am I in the audience? Am I... Okay, no. My Discord is tweaking out. Can I... No, I don't want to show my own screen share. There we go. Gotta save every last bit of RAM you got, right? Let's see how much RAM usage should I have. Let's not get too off track. So, normies listen to Nightcore, the real ones listen to Miku. I'm gonna get burnt at the stake for this. Miku is part of Nightcore, bro. That's like... Miku songs are Nightcore. But okay, let's not get too off track. I've said that for the 4th time now, I believe. So, we had push exercises, pull exercises. We were discussing shoulder, right? So, shoulders, you're gonna have to train side delts, obviously. Then, shoulders, you don't really have to train front delts. I mean, I don't train front delts at all. And you can see, it's like, obviously I'm fat right now, right? But if you actually see if that... Actually, my tricep pose, like, forces my... Nah, okay, the lighting is off completely. Yeah, just embarrassed myself in front of 13 people. No worries. But when training chest, like we discussed previously, especially upper chest, you train a lot of front delt. Even when doing presses or just doing flies normally, the front delt is always involved, right? What you have to train like a... I don't want to swear. What you want to train a lot is going to be the rear delt, right? This portion, if I... Like right here, you can see this little part, right? The rear delt. How you do that is basically like Kelso shrugs. My PC just almost flipped over. Okay, like how you train the rear delt. Obviously, side delt up, right? Front delt up front, and rear delt up back. Right? So this is ideal for rear delt if you're trying to isolate it, but there's also a pretty good exercise for if you want to train traps and rear delts at the same time, which is going to be... Let me see. It's pretty awkward to stand like this, but basically you have your weight like this. It's basically the reverse fly. You can see the fly right here, right? You go like this. Instead of going like this, you basically go... You grab your hands like this and you go like that. Right, you go back. You start here and you go back. And that way, you can see going back activates the rear delt. There's also a form cue which I'm going to give you, which is don't pull your shoulder blades back when doing rear flies, or try not to. Try to completely push your shoulder blades or like your clavicle bone into the seat. Right? Try to push your clavicle bone into the seat as hard as you can, and then just rotate your shoulder like this. And that way you completely isolate the rear delt. Right? Because if you do this, again, you're training traps. And we did traps with Kelso shrugs. Obviously, it doesn't really matter that much because your rear delts are going to give up before your traps anyway. But if you're gonna train, if you're gonna do reverse flies, ideally don't do them directly after this exercise. Because there might be a chance that this exercise is going to fatigue your traps and your traps are going to fail before your rear delts do. So, to list those out for the pull day, lat pullovers or lat pull downs, then Kelso shrugs, then we discussed this exercise, but we don't really need it on, we're going to do this on push day. Then reverse flies, and then biceps, right? We discussed preacher curls, best for biceps. Gosh damn. Yeah. And that's basically already your back day. You can do more back exercises. Obviously, one exercise, in my opinion, is enough. 3 sets per exercise. Ideally, if you, but that's if you train like I do in the rep range as well. So I go really, really heavy while maintaining my form. And I just do about 4 to 9 reps is the rep range I aim for. But this is only for experienced lifters, right? You're not permitted to do those yet. So what you're going to do is you're going to go for, let's say, 8 to 15 reps, 8 to 12. Like somewhere in that range, you should hit failure. If you hit failure at 8 reps, that's pretty good. If you hit failure at 12 reps, that's pretty good. If you had failure at, let's say, 8 to 12, yeah? If you hit failure at 13 reps, like outside of that range, but on the higher end, you increase the weight by a small amount. And then you should be hitting failure again at 8 to 12 reps. If you hit failure outside of those 8 to 12 reps on the lower range, so at like 6 reps, then the weight is too heavy for you and you're going to lower the weight. Just use that and don't overcomplicate it at all. You can after like 1 or 2 years of lifting, and if you like really get into, you know, the nerdy stuff of this. And this is not optimal, right? Well, it's not optimal. Again, we don't really care. This is more fun, in my opinion. And it's going to be easier to control and easier to actually get the form right. If you go really heavy and go for like 4 to 9 reps, like I do, it's hard to get the form right because at that point you try to compensate as much as you can to actually get the weight up with other muscles that you have, right? Like the Kelso shrugs, doing a lot of weight with the Kelso shrugs is pretty easy because like the weight is pulling you down and the only thing you can do is do this, right? But with stuff like lat pull down, for example, you might start to swing back while pulling down to kind of get that momentum of being able to pull the weight, and that way you involve a lot of your lower back, right? So it's hard to get the form right if you go low reps, high weight. So go higher in weight and go higher in rep. Go lower in weight and higher in reps. Yeah. So that's the pull day, right? We finished off with biceps. If you want to add one more exercise for your back, do rows, right? And then do them ideally not at a 90-degree angle, but at a 45-degree angle. Rows like this, if you go rows like this, right? That's like almost purely lat. Go rows like this, it's almost purely entirely traps. Maybe you can see it through my shirt, how my muscles contract. This is going to be lat, right? You can see my shoulder blades are not contracting. This is going to be traps, right? Because it's pretty hard to not contract your shoulder blades and do this, because then you're only pulling with your rear delt. So ideally you do a 45-degree one to hit both muscle groups, traps and lats, and then you're good to go if you want to do an extra exercise. But other than that, the training should take like 45 minutes. And again, we're doing as, I wouldn't say as little as possible, but this is enough to significantly grow, especially in your like first year or so. So push day, right? Favorite day of a lot of people. Chest day, is it? It's called chest day as well. Don't do a chest day, by the way, if you ever consider, like, chest is only one muscle group. You ideally only do 1 exercise or 2 exercises for your chest. Chest day, you're going to start off ideally with either flies that go up. I don't even know what those are called. not incline flies, but like flies that go up like this, front raised flies that go across your body. Again, one armed, right? Because if you go like this, it kind of gets in the way, the arms, right? And if you go like this, you don't get the full range of motion, right? So you want to really start at a neutral position ideally, and then go up and across. Do it at a cable because you're not going to find a machine that does this, unfortunately. What also is a good alternative, if you have a machine that does a pressing movement, but it's close grip, and the grip is not like this, but it's like this, right? Then it's also very good for the upper chest. But because again, this is what the upper chest does, right? So if you find a machine like that, use it. Close grip bench is basically, because upper chest is all about, again, arm path, because upper chest brings your I believe it is femur. Correct me if it's not, but it brings your arm across. Then I would still recommend doing a flat chest exercise, like a flat fly, a normal fly. And I would recommend doing it one arm sided, right? This is what I do. You don't have to, obviously. A lot of people, or like everybody, just does this, right, with their back arched. Ideally, you don't want your back too arched. You want it stacked on top of your, like, you want your, just your back not arched, right? You want your shoulders on top of your torso. That's exactly what I'm saying. There's a nice video of one of the guys of this guy on YouTube, where he explains it. I'm gonna put it in chat. Give me a second. Where is it? Right, rib compression.
What you're doing.
Okay. Oh, no, this is still SoundCloud. Oh. Still learning how to use a computer. Alright. Flat chest fly, right? If you do it like this, you're not going to get all of the range of motion, because again, the chest brings the femur across to the other side. This is going to give you a lot more contraction. Yeah, computers are overrated. Now, next for the push day is going to be your triceps, which actually make up the biggest portion of your arm. So if you want big arms, train a lot of triceps, and also don't neglect your biceps. I used to neglect my biceps a lot, but if we look at my arm, right, like, wait, let me actually get the lighting wrong where you can see a little bit of definition. So you can see where my bicep kind of is. My bicep goes across kind of like this. So it's only really this portion, right? From my finger up is my bicep, right? The rest of my arm, all of this is tricep, right? I obviously have great tricep genetics. That's like my best muscle on my body. But all of this is the tricep, right? And this is going to, if you bicep flex, it's going to make up the biggest part of your arm. So if you want big arms, again, triceps, especially the long head. There's 3 heads, I think, for the tricep. I should know this, but the long head is the most important one. It's going to be the one, okay, from here to down here, right? This part, which kind of gives you the, like, from this shadow on downward is the long triceps. This is going to be the most important part for depth. Yeah, how you train that? Long head is going to get more biased with overhead extensions. So what the tricep does, again, if you look at every muscle is attached to a joint, and every muscle just makes that joint move, right? So the tricep is attached to the elbow joint, and what it does is basically make the elbow joint move, right? It makes your wrist go down. Or if you have it over your head, your wrist go up, right? It extends your arm. So ideally you want to have weight like here, and you can do that at a cable tower and push down the weight like this, right? Ideally have it like this, have it very nice and stable, and you can see my triceps getting activated. To bias the long head is biased in a stretch of the tricep. To bias the long head, you can take the cables over the head and do it like this. I prefer to take a dumbbell, right? To take like 10 kg, which is like 22.5 pounds, swing it across your body, and then you have it up here like this, right? You hold it above your head, you get your arm like this, and then you extend like this, like you lower the weight and you extend like this. You have a very nice stretch on the long head. All right. Lateral delts, like side delts, we already discussed those. We have 2 exercises: chest, side delts, triceps, neck. I covered it at the beginning shortly. Neck curls. You can also buy like a neck attachment equipment, which I did recently. I'm going to show you which one I bought. So I bought this one. I believe it's this one. So basically what you do is you, like this guy, attach it onto your head. And then you can also train not only the front like the front muscles right here, if I flex them right here, but you can also train the width of your neck and yeah, exactly, BDSM type shit, and the back of your neck. This is also pretty good for health in general. Or if you train boxing or martial arts, this is going to benefit you a lot, because if you get hit in the face, the stabilizer muscles kick in, and the stronger your neck is, the less likely you're going to get hurt in total, right? That's why martial artists train neck a lot. So that way you could basically do neck curls like this, or you can attach it to let's say the cable tower is here, the cable comes across like here, and it pulls my head towards this direction, and we can do this, right, while it pulls in this direction, right? So then we would train this part and make it bigger, like wider. That's it for push day. We have had neck, shoulders, upper chest, mid chest, triceps, and I think that's it, yeah. Now, leg day, everybody's favorite day. You can look forward to leg day. Leg day is not going to be complicated. Ideally, you just do one variation of squats. Don't do normal barbell squats, like free barbell squats. You're going to injure yourself if you don't know what you're doing. If you have a trainer nearby and he shows you how they work, you can, obviously, but don't go do them by yourself. Like, yeah. My pull and push days are get related. That's a good one. Yeah, for training legs, you do hack squats if you have them. You can do a leg press if you have one of those. Let me actually get up a picture. Pretty stupid of me not to not. Here we go. Leg press. It's kind of like it goes down like this and you press it back up, right? One of those, beginning, do like 2 sets, 3 sets, failure. Then go leg extensions, right? Where basically what you do is you extend your knee, but again, leg is attached to, first of all, right, your hip and also your knee. So basically leg extension, right? And that trains the quads, as you can see in this picture. Leg curls, leg curls. You can either do them laying down. Someone pointed out that's not optimal. I do realize that, because you tilt your pelvis. And when you tilt your pelvis, there's some other muscles inside of your hip bone, which gets activated. And I believe it's the hip flexor, and not solely your hamstring. Doesn't matter too much, to be honest, but try not arching your back too much. You can do it in lying down. Some people have a machine that's sitting down. I prefer the sitting down one. Yeah, and now we do abs on leg day as well. So we have quads, hamstrings, we have an overall leg press. Now we do abs, right? This is the best exercise I know for abs, which basically you have a cable tower you have a cable tower that stabilizes, right? You can get an attachment usually from your gym. Actually, let me turn on the light again. I look like a homeless basement dweller. Not homeless, but jobless basement dweller. So you stabilize your back against the cable tower. You grab the attachment like this, and you just contract your abs and just pull down like this. And this is already all the range of motion, because damn, I cannot talk, because what the abs actually do is contract, like not contract, but they compress your upper body, right? So it basically brings your shoulders to your hips. So you can go all the way like this, right? But that's not really necessary. You just have to contract your abdominals like this, right? This is basically how you would do it. Because it's stabilized, you don't have any other oblique muscles which would make your waist wider that you don't want to get involved. You can train lower abs, and graphical warning, but that's basically this part right here, right? Like if you want to get this V-line, this guy Jeff Seed has it not as much, but he also has it. You basically want to do leg raises because it's the lower portion of the fibers, and it doesn't really get hit when you do this, right? But the problem with leg raises, which is basically where you hang on a bar and then you raise both your legs like this or like this, right? Then you train those. But when you do that, you train your obliques as well, which is basically like sexy wide hips, right? It's like hip muscles, which extend and make your waist look bigger. It's basically this, not this portion because that's bone for him right here, but it basically makes your hip look bigger, and you don't want that. Because again, we're trying to maximize upper torso, minimize lower torso to get the V shape. Alright, those are all the exercises. This took long. Damn, 1.5 hours in. There's still 9 people watching. We lost half. Whew. Getting exhausted. Alright, we're not even at the best part yet. This is gonna be the best part. The niche dieting hacks. This is pretty nice. We're gonna cover diet real quick for the people in here that aren't really deep into this, right? Are just starting out and just want a simple solution, just like the training plan. Diet, you just don't overcomplicate it. Just eat whole foods. Don't eat too much processed foods. Obviously, cut out junk food. Cut out junk food like McDonald's. Don't eat KFC. Don't eat Subway. Don't eat fast food. Right? Don't eat fast food. And then, yeah, exactly. Greggy My Doucette mentioned. I love Greg Doucette, man. He's the go, bro. Is this guy natural or not? It's bad, Greg. Yeah. So, don't overcomplicate diet. Just eat whole foods. Eat potatoes. Eat protein, and eat like eggs. Right? Eat whole foods, and then it's all about calories in, calories out. Right? If you want to gain and lose fat, at least, or gain muscle, right? This diet advice is not about health. Again, I'm not a diet expert. Like, I do not know every micronutrient, and I do not know how much of everything you need. I just know, okay, this works if you want to get shredded. This works if you want to build muscle, right? So if you want to be healthy at the same time, watch some health videos, go read some health books, and maybe ask Sylvan and I don't know, Eric, are you into health at all? I could imagine Eric being the type of person that just completely has a very, very stacked. Yeah. And that's a main problem for me with exercising first of all, and with diet as well. I got a 9-to-5 job now, so hitting the gym a lot is a lot harder, obviously, because you have less time during the day. But diet as well, I just don't want to cook. I hate cooking with a passion, right? Passion deep inside of my soul. I hate cooking. So ordering food obviously is a very easy solution, but that's not going to be healthy. That's going to be calorie dense. So Whole Foods, just to Whole Foods, then calories are, depending on where you are. We had this in the beginning, right? I started at the worst possible body type. If you are fat but also skinny, called skinny fat, then this is the worst possible outcome. You're gonna have it the hardest, I'm gonna be real with you, but it's also gonna be the most impressive if you actually pull off to look good in the end. If you're skinny, that's basically the best, I would say. That's the best genetic for starting out with lifting, because all you have to do is slight increase in calories and just eat clean and don't like eat a lot of junk food and you're good. If you're fat, you're probably gonna have a bunch of loose skin. Obviously, cutting is a lot harder than bulking. So yeah, it's gonna be hard for those people. Don't do what I did. Don't do an aggressive cut. An aggressive cut is lowering of calories for like 1,000 calories each day, right? Lowering them for 1,000 calories each day. During this time period, I used to eat about 1,400 calories per day, right? Completely restricting myself, not getting enough protein. You don't want to do this because you're gonna end up looking like this. You're gonna end up looking malnourished, and maybe that is what you want right now, and you're gonna say like, "Oh, well, that's still good enough." After 1.5 years, trust me, you're gonna be able to get so much more done if you do it correctly. What you do when you look like this is main gain, right? And I have Greg Doucette right here because he kind of coined the term main gaining. Basically, what you do is you just find out your base calories for all 3 body types, obviously, because you're gonna have to know that. But then you just eat at that base, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, it's fine, right? Don't be too super serious when tracking, because that's also gonna add resistance, and that's also gonna make you relapse more for binge eating and whatever problems you have. Get tanned as well, right? If it's summer, get tanned, yeah. Choo is right. That makes a lot of difference in muscle definition. So main gaining, just eat around your baseline, like 200 calories above, 200 calories below. Don't overcomplicate it, and just eat whole foods and eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Everybody says that, it's true. Like if you weigh 200 pounds, eat 200 grams of protein, and then just fill up the rest with carbs and fat, right? And eat clean, eat around those calories, you're good. If you're fat, you're gonna have to do a slight cut. If you're over 15, and with fat, I mean over 15% body fat. And we can pull up a chart of body fats, even though those are not accurate at all. Let's see, body fat chart. If you got a bunch of fluff to you, I would consider you fat. Let's see. This is maybe I can actually kind of dox myself here. Can I make this big? All right, here we go. I would say, yeah, this is pretty accurate. If you look somewhat like this, I kind of undershot 50% to be honest, but if you look somewhat like this, like 20% to 25%, go do a slight deficit of like 300 calories, 400 calories, right? If you look more like this, more like 30%, again, this guy I wouldn't say is 30% because he obviously has a bunch of muscle underneath, but this is 35% definitely. If you look more like this, you're gonna wanna, you're also not gonna wanna aggressively cut. You'd never wanna aggressively cut because that's just not sustainable from a dietary standpoint as well, right? Because if you do that, then you're gonna relapse, because if you restrict yourself too much, you're gonna snap back to your baseline, and again, you don't want that. You want a gradual change of just changing your diet for the better. One good tip that I have incorporated and that a bunch of my friends have incorporated is that if you eat a bunch of bullcrap throughout your day, just try and, before you eat that bullcrap, like don't try and cut it out if you have trouble cutting it out. Don't try and cut it out. what you're gonna do is before you're allowed to eat that bull crap, you're gonna have to eat a big piece of meat. Pause. Resume. You're gonna have to eat a big chunk of protein, right? Because protein is pretty satiating, and once you have your protein goal in and you're already satiated, you can eat some junk food, right? And that's sustainable as well. And that way you gradually, because you're more full, you're gonna eat less junk food than you would have if you haven't had done that. And that way you can just increase the healthy foods beforehand. Like, let's say before eating a McDonald's meal, you make a steak at home and you eat that, right? You eat some minced beef or a steak or some chicken, and then you're allowed to go to McDonald's. Obviously, this is short term, not gonna get you shredded, but this is also about long term. Okay, you actually know how to diet. That way, you're not gonna get as much as at McDonald's, and that way, again, you will have kind of replaced that, and then you gradually progressive overload, just like you do with the weights in the gym. Just do a little bit more each day or each week, and gradually over time you should be good. Maybe watch some diet videos and some videos on how to track your macros, or read some books on it, and that way you're good to go as well. Because diet is such a big and huge topic that if I cannot imagine to cover it at all. So if you're more than this, or if you're around this, then I would say you do a slight deficit, and even if you do a deficit of like 500 calories. 500 is basically what's recommended at the most fitness niches, right? If you're around 15% body fat, which is where you kind of see your abs, but not really, right? This guy is obviously a bad example, but again, this also shows how genetic abs are. Some people have bigger abs, and this guy just has to train abs a lot more, right? But if you can kind of see your abs, like I can right now, I'm like, let's say 18 to 20 maybe. So I need to cut, definitely. But if you kind of look like this, then you kind of main gain, right? So everything below that, wait, where were we? Okay, it was here. Everything below that, you go into a slight surplus. Ideally, you want to be in this range, where you kind of see abs and yeah, look good. This is not just to look good, but also to, your testosterone is going to be most optimal in this body fat range. So your health is going to be the most optimal in this body fat range, right? Losing fat obviously is healthy, and if you're severely underweight, gaining a bit of fat is also obviously healthy. This is kind of like the optimal range that you can be in. Okay. Don't ever do a big bulk unless you are super skinny. Unless you look like Jack's Fitness. Unless you look like this guy. Unless you're anorexic, don't do a big bulk. This guy did this transformation, by the way, on steroids. I know, crazy, right? He has some of the worst genetics ever. It's like, poor guy. Unless you look like that, don't go on a bulk. Just main gain. Because what you do when you go on a big bulk is you have more energy than you need, right? You have a baseline of calories that you expend every day by just existing, if you were to just sleep, and also obviously if you walk around, that calorie expenditure is going to be your baseline. Then if you exercise, you can raise that baseline, obviously, and if you eat, you cover up that tank of calories that you have. If you go over that tank or over your baseline, those excess calories, those excess energy is going to be put onto your body in the not term, but in the form of body fat. So all it does is do body fat. If you are severely underweight, then that's not so true, right? Because your body is obviously also trying to build muscle. Now, there's no evidence for a calorie surplus stimulating direct muscle growth pathways like the mTOR pathways, right? So And calorie surplus is not necessary to build muscle. It's included in your baseline to build muscle if the signal for the body is there to do hypertrophy. So even if you eat at baseline and train, you should be gaining a good amount of muscle. Obviously, you're gonna need more energy if you have to build more muscle, right? If you already look kind of lean, kind of like a bit of muscle, like I do right here, your body's not gonna put on significant amounts of size. But if you look anorexic, then your body might actually go from being anorexic to this in like 2 years, and it's gonna need a lot of energy for that. So if you're anorexic, go do a big bulk and then see what happens, right? If not, like, you're gonna add a lot of fat. Don't use online calculators or anything like that to estimate your maintenance calories. Exactly, I was getting to that. Instead, eat normally for a month, track your calories very strictly, weigh yourself daily after the month ends. Exactly. So what I would recommend is first, actually do use online calculators, set that at your baseline and try to hit that target every day and see how your weight changes. If you lose a bunch of weight over like track your weight for about 2 weeks and then track your weight every day and then just take the average of all of those days. And if the average from week 1 to the average of week 2, if your weight decreases, then this is above your maintenance calories. Below your maintenance calories. You can add calories more. And after that, you can add like 200, 400 calories each week. And you can see, okay, now I'm averagely, like on average, I'm gaining weight, on average, I'm losing weight, and on average, I'm about staying the same. That way you can find your maintenance. If you just eat normally like you do right now, like if you're fat right now, if you just continue eating normally already puts you in a calorie surplus, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't have gotten fat. If you don't eat in a calorie surplus normally, like as a normal state, you don't get fat. So just look into the online calculator, look at what it says, take that as your average goal, and then do what Chui says for the rest, right? For the next 2 weeks, track your average and then look, okay, is that my average? Is it not? We're done with diet. Now the best part. We're 11 people. Did we grow an audience? That's nice. Getting to the best part. Niche cutting hacks. If you're fat, which most people are, which I am. That's wrong though. If you're fat right now and you eat normally, you get fatter only if you're already in the process of getting fat. If you've been fat for years and you keep eating normally, you're at maintenance. Yeah, fair. But I would argue that in order to get fat, your normal state has to be a calorie surplus. So I guess, just eating normally, yeah, you can also just eat normally. But then you would have to track everything you eat and what that is normally, and then look at, okay, how many calories is that? It's, in my opinion, it's just easier to get it on a calculator and just look, okay, am I hitting this goal or not? It's a matter of preference. You can do both, to be fair. Like, Chui is right. All right, niche cutting hacks. The first one, which has made the biggest difference in my life, is going to be get a stand-up desk and get a at-home treadmill. It is, I cannot tell you how important this is. If you want to lose fat, this is the best thing you can do. You can, and I have this at work, right? My treadmill is not at home right here because I spent most of my time at work, but at work I have a stand-up desk and a treadmill. If you do not, I wouldn't say mindless tasks, but tasks that don't require a lot of thinking, like I would say, to be fair, software engineering, I don't have that much experience in software engineering. As some of you might know, I'm a penetration tester, right? I look for security vulnerabilities. I don't really develop software, even though I'm developing some tools for my company every now and then. But for me, for example, in my day-to-day job, we have to write reports, right? We have to find security vulnerabilities in applications, and then once we found them, we put together a nice and neat report that we can send to the client, and that way the client knows what errors there are and what to fix. While doing that report, which doesn't require so much mental effort, I usually go on the treadmill. I usually do about 3.5 kilometers per hour. mH to miles. That's about 2 miles per hour, which is not that much, right? You can 1 mile, 2 miles per hour, and just walk on your stand-up desk like this, right? It's like it's slow walking, and while doing that, just focus on your work. The first 5 minutes is going to be kind of mentally exhausting because you kind of have to focus on both, but after that you're in a complete flow state. Like you don't even notice that you're walking anymore until like your feet start to hurt, right? I usually average about 2 to 3 hours every day that I actually get on the treadmill without noticing it, right? And after that my feet start to hurt, and then I basically sit down back into my chair. And in those 2 to 3 hours I get about 11 to 12 kilometers in, right? And that's well over 10,000 steps. That's like 12,000 steps, I think. I calculated that once, but 8 kilometers I think was about 10k steps. What's 8 kilometers in miles? Just use proper metric systems, guys. Like, why are you doing miles? Why are we doing feet, right? Why are you guys so obsessed with feet, bro? That's 5 miles about. Right around 5 miles in about 2 to 3 hours, right? In 2 hours, 5 miles sounds reasonable, right? 3 hours, 5 miles, depending on how fast you walk, without noticing it. That's the thing. Like every half hour or so, you notice it again. Obviously, you're aware that you're walking, but you're locked in on your work, so you don't even like it's not conscious. You know, you're not consciously walking and working. It's hard to explain until you've actually done it yourself, especially if you are at home and you tell yourself, okay, I don't feel like doing anything and I'm not going to be productive now and I'm going to watch some Netflix show, maybe you watch anime or something. At least do your cardio alongside it, right? Like doing your cardio while being able to watch something is 10 times better than just watching something and just procrastinating, right? If you're going to procrastinate, at least be productive while procrastinating, right? So while doing work and also while just doing other stuff, just go hop on your treadmill and you're going to get your 10k steps a day. And this is going to be the majority of your calorie deficit. This is the best thing that I've ever done. Yeah. And now, with my code LADSPREAD on treadmills.com, you can get 10% off, right? Just get a treadmill. They're like $100 on Amazon. Right? Amazon. Cannot type. Amazon. Treadmill. Let's see if we can find the one that I have. Ideally, don't get one with like an attachment right here. Get one without an attachment where it's just the lower part. You can just, you have your hands on your desk anyway. On your keyboard, because we don't use mice here. I cannot actually find it, but just go look on Amazon. They're like $100 to $200. It's the best investment I've ever made. Like for fat loss, this is the best investment I've ever made. Even better than retatrutide. And people that are a little bit into fitness are gonna know what this is. And I'm telling you, better than retatrutide. Let's take a look at the chat a little bit. Treadmill plus standing desk. Yeah, sounds like a great combo. Exactly. If you already have a standing desk, as well. If you have a standing desk without a treadmill, just stand more. It's so much more healthy, right? It's pretty stupid if you have a stand-up desk and you just don't use it. Which, to be fair, at home I don't really do because my PC doesn't fit on my desk because I have so many monitors because I have so much money. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you work as a waiter, exactly, you also get a lot of steps a day, right? But chances are you're not gonna work as a waiter. If you're in this Discord, chances are you're gonna try to be a software engineer, right? Or go into programming in another direction, data scientist or something. I often eat junk food because I have no time to cook. Exactly. This is the problem I have as well. We're gonna get into replacements for that. I did mention it shortly, but let's see. So this right here is the third best thing. Second best thing is Reddit2Tide. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna explain to you what Reddit2Tide is, but I'm gonna cover the other things first. This right here, this is an ice cream machine. This is called the Ninja Creami. You can look it up on the internet if you want to. This just makes ice cream. Like, you can make ice cream yourself with your own ingredients. And it doesn't take long. It takes like 20 minutes to prepare a week's worth of ice cream, and then you just put it in the freezer, and whenever you feel like it, you just take one out and you just put it in the machine, and it just makes ice cream for you. And the Ninja Creami, yeah. Alright. Exactly, and you can control the macros of your own ice cream. That's the best part, right? So you can use 0%, like, I know you Americans are crazy, right? You guys have 0% fat milk, right? It's like, what? I want to move to America almost because of that, right? But you guys have that there, right? I believe Fairlife has that, even though they have microplastics in them, but if you don't care too much about that, then that's fine. But you can get 0% skimmed milk, right? 0% fat. And that's like no calories at all. Then get like a flavor powder, which in Germany we have More, is the company called. Dang it. Here, More Chunky Flavor, which basically it gives you like blueberry flavor or like cookie flavor or something like that for like 9 calories for the ice cream, right? It's just flavor powder. Is advertising a $200 device to everyone here the best idea? I'm not getting any profit for it, right? It's not like I'm associated with it, if that's what you mean. But advising a $200 machine. Yeah, if you're a student and you cannot afford it, then that sucks to be you. But if you have the money, buy this. Trust me. Yeah, I will. Maybe we do a giveaway in the server. I'll be willing to do that. They're not that expensive. They're like 200 bucks. Let me see. Ninja Creami. Let's see if that's worth. But you all have to subscribe to my YouTube channel or something. No, I'm kidding. Wait. They're like, they're 300 bucks, bro. Oh, wait. There's different versions of them as well. I got mine for like 100 bucks on eBay. And that's what you can do as well. You're probably gonna find somebody. Yeah, let's see. Microwaving chickpeas and frying them up with spices and garlic for a creamy meal. That's a fire idea. I'm gonna try that. Okay, Ninja Creami. There's a bunch of recipes. You can make ice cream like this. Obviously, this is an Oreo cookie like crushed onto it, which I do as well. A very nice recipe for just chocolate ice cream in general is just using baking cacao, right? Which doesn't have many calories at all, and then using skimmed milk, like 0% fat milk or the most skimmed milk that you can get, and then using a sugar replacement. So not using sugar, but using Erythrit, it's called in Germany, or aspartame, right? Just get a sugar replacement, put that in the milk, and then put baking cacao in the milk, and then boom, perfect chocolate ice cream. You can top that with 1 Oreo cookie. You can just scrape off the white cream if you're as autistic as me and you want to get no calories, right? But you can just crush a cookie on top and then mix that in as well, and you have chocolate Oreo ice cream for like, I think my record for crazy ice cream was like 200 calories for an entire pint, right? Let that sink in. For an entire Ben & Jerry's sized chocolate ice cream with Oreo pieces, you have 200 calories, all right? Do I have to tell you how overpowered this is? Like, imagine you can just eat ice cream every day, like a whole pint of ice cream every day, and doesn't affect you macros at all, right? So this is worth it if you're trying to find stuff to buy. Not as much as the treadmill though. The treadmill is going to make you lose more weight, in my opinion, or at least it has done for me. Next one, diet soda. Best invention ever. Best invention on this planet ever. Like, I cannot understand who even came up with this, right? Sugar replacement in general. 0 calories. You might say, oh, health implications, cancer, blah, blah, blah. Studies show that it's not as bad as people make it out to be on social media. I know we aren't on social media at all here. Running doesn't help. What do you mean running doesn't help? I already recommended the treadmill. Slow walking over running as well, right? Because you want your heart rate to be low, so you burn more fat. But you can do running, I guess. But your cortisol is going to be high, your heart rate is going to be high. You're not gonna, and it's also not sustainable. Like, you're not gonna go on a run every day for like 5 miles. Like, that's just not realistic. Obviously, you're gonna miss a day or two. Fucking Chad playing Elden Ring. But if you walk 10k steps a day, especially at your desk, right, where you don't even notice it, that's pretty realistic. Doing diet soda, like drinking diet soda, I spend like $100 a month on diet soda. I'm not even lying. I drank these today, right? 2 Diet Cokes. Obviously, Coke is not as good as other diet sodas. Like Sprite is like the ideal one because Coke has an acid in it. I believe it's called an acid in English. It's Phosphatsäure in German. And yeah, I think my nose got like stuffed or something. Okay, that's actually a good call. I need to breathe. Quick deep breathing session for us. Okay, I'm good. Diet soda, right? I drank those 2 today because it's so overpowered. Whenever you get a sweet craving, you can just drink those. 0 calories, bam, done, right? Whenever you have a sweet craving for sweets, you can either get ice cream at the end of the day or have that like, I would recommend having that more as like a reward at the end of the day. If you like, oh, I don't eat the junk food right now because I'm gonna have ice cream at the end of the day anyway. If you have cravings for junk food or sweets, just take a can of diet soda. Just take a sip of diet soda. It's the best thing ever. You can drink as much soda as you want without anything happening to you health-wise or like gaining weight, right? It's like it's so awesome, man. It's so cool. Yeah. Yeah, Coke was better when they had cocaine in it. You cannot interject in voice chat about cardio. Can I interject in voice chat about cardio? After. I'm almost done with my stuff, but we can have you get on stage. Yeah, just save it. Right. So last thing, or second to last thing. First, this is a soup I made recently, which I thought I would share here as well. Which basically a great noodle replacement, like a great pasta replacement, is actually cabbage. Just cutting up cabbage in stripes and then putting that into a soup is basically like eating noodles. And it's like a little bit more crunchy, but it's almost just as satiating. If you couple that with like bone broth and chicken, that's a crazy meal. Like, it's super filling, especially if you drink bone broth afterwards as well. Super nutritious as well. If you include some maybe liver in there, or you put some red meat and in general in there. And you get super full for all of that for like 400 calories, right? Because cabbage, basically no calories, only calories in there are the meat itself. And you could put other vegetables in there as well. Vegetable soup is overpowered as well. But not as much as the other ones though. Last and most important thing after the treadmill. Retatrutide. What is retatrutide, you might be asking? Diet soda causes a bit of inflammation though. Yeah, but to be fair, I'd rather be a little bit inflamed and be able to crush my sugar craving every day, whenever I want, wherever I want, because I pack diet soda to go with me wherever I am, than not be inflamed, right? It's just the P&L that you have, the profit and loss. Fucking day trader here. It's just like you get way more out of it than negatives, right? In my opinion, if you're like on a crazy health trip and you say we're gonna try to limit inflammation as much as possible, we're only eating raw meat every day, right? Which I used to do for some time, which is you feel awesome on it, by the way. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not sustainable. Then raw moldy liver, yeah, exactly. Like the social media trend. No, but really, in Germany, that's a thing. Like Met is a thing. So, and then you also have Tatar and stuff. I can go into that, but I rather would not. Reddit what is that? Have y'all ever heard of Ozempic? I would like some feedback in the chat if y'all ever heard of Ozempic. You can have infinite soda, and can have infinite ice cream if you make the ice cream itself yourself with the Ninja Creamy, and if you get diet soda. That is true. Like, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's that as well. Cabbage is a crazy tortilla wrap replacement, which I actually did use on my first cut ever. Cabbage, and then just put the meat in the cabbage. I did chili con carne wraps, but with cabbage instead of the wraps. So exactly, your father uses it for obesity. So Ozempic is basically a drug, and oh, drugs! No, we don't do drugs. Wait, right? Medication. It's a medication, right? Usually for like it's intended for diabetic people, but basically what it does is it activates all the pathways in your body that are responsible for a fat loss. So it makes your base metabolic don't do drugs, yeah. It raises your base metabolic rate, which we talked about before, right? Your baseline of calories, which like if you were to not do any exercise and just sleep, if you went to do these 10 steps, 10K steps with your treadmill and your stand-up desk, like I recommend, if you weren't to do any of that, like you would still burn calories just through existing, and by taking retatrutide, those calories get increased. Second of all, it actually makes you less hungry, right? So it basically suppresses your hunger hormone, ghrelin, right? Don't want to misspeak here. And by doing that, you're gonna get less hungry. And basically, what it feels like is kind of like you don't want to eat. You still get cravings for sweet stuff every now and then, because just the nostalgia or like the appetite for sweet stuff is still there. But as once, like as soon as you take a bite of like a cookie or anything else, like you're already full. Like you just don't want to continue eating it. But that's also true, like the negative part of it, that's also true for chicken or broccoli or whatever, right? Like you just don't want to eat on this. It's stronger than Ozempic. Ozempic is a GLP-2, I believe. There's like 3 pathways, and this is a GLP-3 pathway. GLP-3 and antagonist. Exactly. And I'm going on from the top of my head here, right? If this is not like medically 100% correct, then excuse me, right? I don't have all of the completely detailed facts in my brain. I just know the overall consensus, and I've taken it before myself as well, so I have the anecdotal evidence as well. Linus Toll says GLPV2 is better. All right. Yeah. So taking retatrutide suppresses your hunger completely. Like you don't want to eat anymore, or you don't get the feeling of, oh, I'm hungry, right? It's so powerful that I literally have multiple times forgotten to eat until like very late in the evening. Like forgotten. Like I've not even thought about food, right? So on this medication, you actually have to look up, like you actually have to remind yourself, okay, I have to eat my protein, because you still have to eat protein in a calorie deficit to maintain your muscle mass, because you don't want to lose all your muscle mass and look like Jack's Fit. I don't have an open right here, right? You don't want to look anorexic. So this I'm always saying Medikament because it's in German. This medication, yeah, creatine. Vielen Dank für creatine. We're all taking creatine in this Discord. No, but seriously, this medication doesn't have any side effects. When I say that, that's not completely true. But when I say it, I'm comparing that to steroids. Steroids have severe side effects. Steroids are going to give you severe acne, severe anger issues, severe hormonal issues. They're going to suppress your testosterone. They're going to make you infertile. Like, you cannot have children anymore. You're going to get super bloated. Like, your brain literally starts to regress in development, right? It's super bad for your body. All of that for building a few pounds of extra muscle. This right here, the worst side effect that you can get is nausea and like diarrhea, right? And this is if you react badly to it genetically, right? So that's the worst part, right? So you might get a little bit nauseous, which I personally do after, and also you have to inject it. I've been waiting to tell you guys that, but that's kind of like the point where most people go like, okay, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm afraid of needles. But if you're willing to get over that, it's actually not that bad. You inject it into your belly fat, right? I can show you my belly fat for the people interested. Damn, I'm fat, right? But like you grab some and you just poke it in there, and then and it's super small amount, and you just don't get the craving to eat. You burn fat like double as much, not double as much. That's a lie, but you burn significantly more fat. And it's just a miracle drug. The worst thing that can happen is basically you pooping a little bit more. Like, the worst experience that I've heard of, and I've researched this quite a lot, is a woman that has shit herself in public, like 2 times. That's the worst negative side effect I've ever heard. That's from one person, right? Other people report like after injecting they get nauseous and some of them throw up sometimes. But other than that, like, this is also pretty rare, right? So most people don't even feel anything. And yeah, you just get shredded for free. Don't take my word for this. Research this supplement, right? This peptide. It's a peptide, right? Oh, peptides! Oh, TikTok peptides! A peptide is basically a chain of amino acids, below 100 amino acids, right? It's nothing special, right? It's not a steroid, it's not an anabolic, right? Research this. Trust me, please trust me, research this and evaluate if you're gonna invest into this. If you want to buy this, there are several ways you can. Because it's not FDA approved right now, this particular form of a GLP antagonist, right? Ozempic is FDA approved, but it's super hard to get. You need a medical prescription from a doctor. In Minecraft, if you want to buy this, you go to a Chinese black market, or you go to a local gray market, right? So there's gray market shops in Minecraft for each country. So you just, in Minecraft, search up USA peptide shop, or Germany peptide shop, or Poland peptide shop, and you're gonna find some. But the problem with that is it's 10 times more expensive to get it like that than getting it. Yeah, exactly. The shops on Hypixel Bed Wars is there's some crazy shops there. It's crazy what people sell there. But with Chinese suppliers, which is where I'm getting mine from, it's 10 times cheaper. So usually you would get a vial like this for like 200 to 300 bucks. On a gray market website, I'm getting 10 of these for like 300 bucks, right? From a Chinese supplier that a friend of mine has recommended to me. So, depending on what you want, right? Obviously, the Chinese supplier is going to be more risky in terms of quality, right? But most of the gray shops that charge you 10 times the amount just sell the same thing. They just resell the Chinese stuff without even doing health checks and stuff, right? So if you're gonna go with a gray market source, then go with a one that has a good reputation. This guy, which I sent into the chat right here, Dorian, here on YouTube. I believe he had like a sponsorship once with a peptide company. I don't even know. Wait, let me actually check his link tree. Doesn't look like it anymore. Okay, forget what I said. Yeah, you can do that, and I really, really recommend you do that. Because now let me share you my anecdotal evidence of what happened when I took this for 2 months. Right? When I took this for 2 months, I lost 13 kg of fat. Well, not all of fat, obviously. You don't just lose just fat all the time, right? Every cut has muscle loss. But the crazy part is my lifts, all of my lifts, like all of my exercises, I went up in weight. Like I got stronger in all of my exercises, indicating that I lost close to no muscle. Like losing close to no muscle, which also this medication does, right? It does help with muscle preservation as well, which I forgot to mention. Like basically lose no muscle, shred fat super fast, and no side effects. So only side effect is that you have to inject it, right? You have to get a needle, which, right? Insulin needles. You have to get some bacterial water and inject that, right? Watch a YouTube video on how to inject stuff into your stomach. Again, get a reputable source, research it beforehand. I'm not going to be held liable. This is all in Minecraft, right? But I really do recommend you researching this and at least evaluating if this is something that you're willing to do, right? Again, only our downside is injecting and maybe some nausea and diarrhea, right? But you're gonna shred off your things. Get yourself some Cocktail of Tren, Red 40, and HGH. Yeah, exactly. Put in some Anavar and Test as well, and then you're good to go in Minecraft. So we can get into steroids if you guys want to. I'm not too educated in steroids, so I don't really want. I don't want to get into steroids. Never mind. I'm not educated enough to recommend anything to everyone. I don't think anyone should take steroids, especially if you're a new lifter. I have a friend of mine who has not even done a year of lifting, and he's now taking HGH. Like he's been hit hard with the looks maxing TikTok trend, right? It's honestly quite sad. Yeah, I know him from school, and he's now taking active human growth hormone because he wants to be taller, even though he is already 6'2", right? So yeah. Again, get off social media, guys. Right, most important thing you can do in your life. Is he looking like Tyler One yet? No, he's skinny as shit. Right, obviously you are when you haven't even lifted 1 year. Oh, headphone. Oh, me, you mean. Headphone dip. Let's see. Do I? I don't think so, right? I don't wear these often. Also, my hair looks gorgeous. I just want to say that. I don't know if you heard it. My hair looks gorgeous. So, yeah, don't do drugs. Like, don't do excluding retatrutide, but don't do steroids, right? Like seriously, it's not worth it, especially if you're just getting into it. I know it's tempting, and if you know where to get it, it's pretty easy to get it. Just don't. Just trust me. If you lift it for 7 years plus, and you're gonna make the decision to go into pro bodybuilding, fair enough, right? But don't. Just don't. All right. Any more stuff that I wanted to discuss? Right. Look up retatrutide. Look up some studies on it. Look into the evidence of it. Some people might be saying, "Oh, it's some weird chemical from China. Maybe it gives you cancer." It actually limits cancer. Like there's studies on that. Like looking at the effect on cancer, it actually prevents. Like actually has anti-cancer effects. Right. That's also pretty cool. Like not to a significant amount, obviously, but yeah, just it's a miracle drug. It hasn't been out for long. That's why it's not FDA approved yet, right? There's no long-term trials like 5+ years, and obviously they could discover in like 5 or 10 years that, oh shit, this stuff actually does give you something, and then again at your own risk, right? But for me personally, I find that being well above the risk ratio, right? because Ozempic also doesn't seem to. Well, actually, I'm not too educated about Ozempic, so I'm not gonna make any claims about that. Let me read chat a little bit. You guys said a lot. Worst part of steroids is the delusion that comes up with taking it. Yeah, a lot of people would rather have their lifespans for no more muscle than could have built naturally. Well, expecting to. Yeah, exactly. People think that just because people take steroids, they're gonna look like Ronnie Coleman, and that's not true at all. You're not gonna win Mr. Olympia just because you take steroids. Like, you could not look like Ronnie Coleman even if you tried. And I say that as a challenge to everybody in here. Like, no, you could not. You could not even look like this in the next 2 years if you tried. I don't know how you guys look like. I mean, Albie probably already looks like this from what I've seen in his pictures. Albie is pretty hot. But you could not look like Ronnie Coleman. Not ever in your lifespan. Even if you tried. Even if you took every steroid that you wanted. Alright, see ya Albie. Alright, I'm done with my presentation actually. Let me do a quick summary and then let's get Anak on. Or what's the other guy that also wanted on? The ex-powerlifter. Let me clear my nose. Alright. So, physique inflation has gone up. Yeah, we know, because of social media. Everybody's on social media. It's a cancer to society. Society is failing. The West is failing. It's all connected to certain political influences. We're not going to get into that. It takes a lot of time. A lot of time. But it's worth it because time is going to pass anyway. And why would you not do this if you could, right? Time is going to pass anyway. Who cares if it's going to take longer, right? That's just such a stupid argument. Your goal is to build a V-taper. This is the visually appealing equivalent for an hourglass shape in a woman for a male, right? If you have a woman that has big boobs and a big butt, obviously that's going to have a neuron activation in the male's brain, and we're going to find that attractive. Obviously this varies for subjective reasons, but there is some objectivity to looks, obviously, because otherwise that wouldn't be the case, right? This is the equivalent for females. Is the V-taper, and I believe for gay people as well, but that I'm just saying that because I've heard that once in the series Big Mouth. Anybody knows that? I watched that like 2 years ago, and they said that in there. I'm not gay, I don't have gay friends, I don't. Okay. Oh, isn't preacher curl less of a stretch? Okay, my bad. I didn't see that. Because of the long head inserts over your humerus. Fair enough. Yeah, I guess it is. But it's not really about the stretch though. It's about the stability of the exercise. Like you could just as much do a you could just as much get the equipment which like hangs around your chest, and there's like a big piece of wood right here where it's just like it's to prevent your elbow from going back, right? Where you just use your rear delt to lift the weight up. So that's basically why we're doing preacher curls. V-taper, we got over that. 7 aesthetic muscles. Upper chest, boom instead of incline bench because arm path is more important. Biceps, then lateral delts, upper traps, neck, super important. Get a neck attachment if you have the money. It's like $20. It's super worth it. Otherwise, just do neck curls in the gym. Put some weight on your head. Do not put some weight on your head, depending on where you are at. Leanness for abs, and also train your abs because they're not made in the kitchen. Push-pull leg split 3 days a week. The exercises you can watch back in detail what we actually talked about. Diet, depending on your body type. Surplus for super anorexic people. Main gaining for normal guys, I guess, and slight deficit for people under over 20%, I would say. I would change that to 20. Niche cutting hacks, you can watch that part back as well. Get a treadmill and a stand-up desk. I cannot stress this enough. You're gonna not even be shredded more, but you're gonna be so much more healthy. The #1 correlated health marker with how long you live, like with longevity, is how many steps a day you take, like how active you move your body and how active you are. This will literally increase your lifespan. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. Get a stand-up desk and a treadmill. Like, put that into your brain. If you have $200 lying around, get a cheap $100 stand-up desk on Amazon and cheap $100 treadmill. Diet soda, spam it as much as you can. Get an ice cream machine, optionally if you want to, right? If you want to eat ice cream, if you like eating ice cream. Brita True Tide, please look into this for the sake of your shreddedness, right? For the sake of your, I guess, mental health, because if you look better, you feel better. If you want to lose weight, please look into this, right? I need to say no more. All right, we're done. You guys have been spamming chat. If you can figure out how to put people on or off stage, maybe stay here for a bit after party. Otherwise, maybe hijack the general voice channel. I just don't want to press the button 100 times. Amazing talk. Yeah, of course. He's already gone. One question. How do you deal with the pain while lifting? I go because I stay home all day. Yeah, we're gonna get into that. Neck is important. Starting neck curls is, yeah, pretty much. Again, if we go back to this graph right here, then you could just tell. This one is the most extreme, right? Skinny neck, wide neck. You can see the difference in attraction. Like, it's just, maybe I'm a little bit gay for me to say it like that, but you can recognize somebody being objectively like what's it called? Not objectively more attractive, but like on average, right? In terms of society. What kind of pain are we? Okay, you guys are press on your forehand, hands when you're starting out until you can get sets of 50 easily, exactly, and then you can do a plate. Abs are 80% diet and 20% lifting, right? No, not at all. You have to train abs, and I'm saying this as a person who doesn't have defined abs, right? Like, obviously I'm going to be biased. It's a genetic factor. It's going to be genetics on how big and defined your abs are going to be. Most people start out with okay abs and they can just cut down and that just works. But just in case, like, if you cannot see your abs right now, like I couldn't for a long time and I still cannot right now at this moment, but I have been able to at some point. Like, this picture is the perfect version of this. Like, this guy is at 10%, like, according to this graph, obviously, but you cannot see his abs at all, right? They're not popping. Versus this guy, those abs are popping. Obviously, he's black. He's going to have better genetics. That's not racist. That's just overall true. That's just physically, usually in bodybuilding, they have better genetics. Yeah, okay, there are two types of pain. Yeah, okay. We can discuss pain. My abs popped out over a month of doing them during my first cut. Yeah, you're lucky, bro. You're lucky. Still, train your abs. If you want to have a defined six-pack like this, right? Okay, we're done. I'm gonna end my stream. And maybe I can get people on right here. Is there anybody in the audience that has, like, admin permissions to this server, or like the divine power, the heavenly genetic, not just for abs but for bringing people on stage? Otherwise we can just go into general discussions. All right, here we go. What's good, Joy?
Yo, what's up? What's up, man? How's it going?
What's good, bro? How are you?
I'm doing all right. I would say I liked your lecture overall. One I had was what is your general experience with powerlifting or just general exercise?
I haven't had a lot of experience in powerlifting. I have done a lot of ego bench press. I've been lifting for 3.5 years. Yeah, I would say just during those 3.5 years, I've gotten a bunch of knowledge that I wanted to share. Obviously, I'm not I don't
For
have a
sure. Yeah.
certification for personal training and stuff, but just from my experience and just from my analysis of different physiques, right, which I've done, like I was autistic about the shit, right, when I started out. Like I was looking
Oh
at,
yeah.
okay, this guy has this exact muscle, which makes him look a little bit wider this way, or makes him look better this way, and yeah, through like personal stuff like that, I feel like yeah, I gained some knowledge which I wanted to share. But again, I don't have any certificates or anything like that. I have 3 years of training under my
Right.
belt, and that's it.
No, yeah. I enjoyed the lecture overall. I would say uh when it comes to specifically um abdominal muscles,
Yeah,
it's generally genetically linked almost entirely. But
yeah,
you're also you were right on that point. You could also train your abducts pretty well.
yeah.
I want
I
to
went
ask.
over that um, during my
Okay,
exercise
yeah.
thingy, like a slide. Sorry, I cut you off.
No. You're good. I don't think I was there to see that.
Yeah,
Um, but overall, a good lecture, man. I enjoyed it. What background do you come from?
thank you, man.
Like, or I guess, STEM or
Um, what do you mean background? Like life in general, or
or more so your background in the gym, I would say.
Yeah, I guess I grew up pretty insecure about my body during the ages
Yeah,
of like 9 to 14 and stuff. Like I was severely bullied in
same.
school and also just in day to day, right? So obviously that causes you to question, okay, am I really enough in that aspect, right? And I still have that
Right.
issue today, obviously. But
I think every lifter
yeah,
goes through that point where no matter how big they are,
yeah,
it's always not enough. That's
yeah,
how I felt when I was super into lifting for my
yeah. And
and all
that's
that.
And that's a thing that you really have to be, or should be, not maybe not scared of, but like you should watch out for, right? Which is why I also
Yeah,
said in the
more.
lecture, like delete social media. Um, Albi,
Oh
he's
yeah.
not in the lecture right now, but he has a very nice setup about for like social media consumption and stuff, where he only gets recommended the people that he follows. And I feel like if you follow people like the Trent twins, maybe that's like a very nice part of like entertainment, right? If you're gonna entertain yourself,
Right. Yeah.
don't look at Instagram reels and just get spammed with the craziest physiques out there, right? But maybe
Right.
maybe have some entertainment of some guy ego lifting and like I guess tearing his pec like Mikey did, right? Something sort like more funny, more like wow, wow, like energetic, right? And not so much oh black pill. Oh, this guy looks so good. Look at his face card. Look at his body, right? Because that way you're just gonna get
Yeah.
depressed. So
I was going to ask, do you think there's been, I guess, at your local gym, an influence younger people kind of trying to emulate the physiques they see online? I'm talking like 15 to like
yeah,
19 years old.
yeah. And I've talked about my friend very briefly who takes human growth hormone because he wants to
Uh,
maximize how tall he is. He's 6'2" already, and he's now decided to hop on human growth hormone to get even taller. He's 17 years old, right? And he also does it for
that's
like the facial bones and stuff. Like he's pretty into like the cringe TikTok looks maxing scene, right?
right.
He's getting like a certain sort of brace where it like splits apart your face completely, where it widens your palate, right, to get better cheekbones and stuff. Like, it's pretty fucked up, right? And I feel like with the rise of looks maxing as well, um, obviously improving your body for aesthetics is a part of looks maxing. Like I'm not gonna deny that, but I feel like this is not as harmful as the other stuff, right?
No, yeah,
So,
I would say I agree.
regarding your question about people trying to emulate this stuff, like yeah, there's a bunch of kids in my local gym that are on steroids.
Yeah,
So,
like what
and
I noticed, especially because a chronic, I used to be a powerlifter, got a chronic ailment, couldn't do that anymore. Whatever. Regardless, after I've been in the gym for quite a while,
yeah,
I've seen 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds hopping on peptides, hopping on
yeah.
all all of this sort of stuff. And I was wondering if you might have. I know it's a super complicated kind of question with a
Hmm.
lot of factors into it. I was wondering if there was, you know, somehow to stop the epidemic of, I guess, just young kids being hooked onto steroids at a very quick age, because it 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 just seems like it's more and more prevalent the more people I talk to.
Hmm.
I to be a power lifter, and I still mentor people who getting into lifting and just general stuff. And one of the first few questions they ask me is like, "Hey, should I hop on this peptide?" Or, "Hey,
Yeah,
should I ask my doctor for 200 milligrams of
of testosterone.
testosterone?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was wondering, like, do you think there? 'Cause I come from the clinical side, and I was wondering if there was any type of proposed solution you might have. And I don't know if there is one, honestly.
Well, some, I did recommend one peptide in my lecture. Maybe you weren't part of that, like maybe you weren't there
I
for that part.
wasn't. I apologize.
So yeah, no worries. I recommended retatrutide. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm. I don't think I am,
Okay.
unfortunately. Of
So it's basically like, do you know Ozempic?
course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
basically
The
Ozempic but
opiates.
better. And right. So it's basically a fat loss peptide, right, without major negative side effects. Like the worst side effects you can get is nausea and maybe you get diarrhea. Those are like the worst reported side effects there are. For most, like the majority of people, it's like basically no side effects. I've taken it myself as well for 2 months straight, and I felt nothing after, besides a little bit of nausea after injecting it. Right, that's the only downside in my opinion, is that you have to inject it into your belly fat. But like bodily side effects, there really aren't any, and you just shred down fat, right? So I recommended that here for people that are struggling to lose fat, right? That are like,
Right.
okay, I want a cheap hack, and um I don't want to concern myself so much with lifting and with getting super nerdy into the sports science and stuff. I just want a solution, right? I just want to
Yep.
get
Yep.
leaner.
That makes sense.
And it's basically like taking creatine, in my opinion, right? Like you can take creatine and get a
Gotcha.
few more pounds of muscle. I don't think it counts as cheating, to be honest, right? There's obviously the
No.
debate
Yeah.
of like,
Everyone
yeah,
uses creatine. Yeah. No. I
exactly.
agree.
So I don't see this particular peptide because doesn't have negative side effects, and that's basically only difference between supplements like creatine and peptides like retatrutide, and compared to steroids, right? The only difference is, first of all, the magnitude of effects, and second of all, there are negative side effects, right? If steroids didn't have negative side
Right.
effects, everybody would take steroids, right? Because why the fuck
Right.
not? Everybody is taking creatine. So peptides, or at least I don't want to say peptides in general. We don't know for the long term. Like we don't have long term studies, 5+ years, right? But in the short term, there are no negative side effects, and that's why I said go do your own research, go evaluate for your own current life situation, if that's a risk you're willing to take, that maybe in 5 or 10 years it comes out that maybe it does do something to your bone health or something, right? That's still a possibility, and I'm
Right.
not denying that. But to me personally, that risk is just one that I'm willing to take. Just like with creatine, maybe in the future we find something out for something, right? Obviously the chances are different because creatine has been studied long term, but yeah.
Right. Right. No, yeah, I no, yeah, I totally get that. I think with GLPs
Yeah.
in general, they have a lot more scrutiny towards them. I think just general in the medical field that you're not very it takes a very long time to get I guess I would say long-winded results without any side effects whatsoever. Something
Hmm.
ever like that comes out, I would be taking that every day. But uh no, yeah, I'd say great lecture.
Thanks, bro.
Um, The obviously for context, I was a professional bodybuilder. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but
Bodybuilder as well,
also
nice.
oh nice. Um,
But like, were
but
you a professional bodybuilder? You were about to say that, or did you misspeak it
yeah,
before?
I was a
Okay, yeah,
professional bodybuilder, and
cool.
I would say, and there's different divisions in powerlifting, but I think your general advice on starting out lifting is pretty like if I had a different kind of philosophy on that, you probably get the same result if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
Um, but
yeah,
yeah, great lecture, man.
yeah. I know a
I
guy that did what's it called, resistant band workout for 3 years at home and is absolutely jacked. Right? So he would
right.
put resistant bands under his feet and then do bicep curls with that and like train that way, and he's jacked, right? So really you can do anything you want. Like not really, obviously he has great genetics, right? I'm not gonna deny that, but like it's not that deep, I would agree. Like it's not, you're not gonna have to have the most optimal lifting split, and you're not gonna have to do that and this. That's why I said in the lecture, maximize for fun rather than being optimal. Because
Right.
you just want to stay consistent, right? You want to stay consistent over the next 20 years of lifting. So you actually keep the
Yeah.
body that you built, or you actually build the
Yeah.
body
No.
in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah. Consistency is the best possible kind of remedy to all of that because I would say I was floundering within my first or so ish months lifting. And then once I got a proper, I would say, regimen going down, stuck to that regimen, it went from like, oh, I'm not making any gains in 3 months to, oh shit, I look
Yeah.
completely different,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. So, um, yeah, no, it was a good lecture. Obviously, there's a few points I disagreed with, obviously,
All right.
probably most
I'd be
people
interested actually
would.
in which points.
Like the unfortunate thing is that I was out and I joined near the end.
Yeah.
I have a PowerPoint of it or a YouTube video or something like that.
I actually recorded the entire thing. I'm still recording right now. And we're gonna put this on the like on the Discord server or maybe on some drive. Sylvan said that we can put this on some drive that he has and have a link in the server.
It'd be cool because once we consolidate or at least make it easier to find maybe thread or any of the like things like lifting, because I know most of the STEM community really understand a lot of just general lifting procedure, and they get led astray pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I would think, I would think a video like that would be really helpful, not just in, or sorry, more specifically in this Discord, because if we could get a bunch of jacked engineers, physicists,
Yeah.
mathematicians, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But thank you for the lecture, man. I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for listening, man. Thank you for attending.
Yeah, man. If you ever wanna, I want to see, because there was a certain time where I was into lifting, and
Mhm.
let me see if I could get a few pictures where, okay, yeah, I have one picture here. This would, okay, let me go back to the Discord. So I'm gonna send this in the chat. Oh, whoops, that is not the correct, that is definitely not the correct picture. Give me 1 second.
Just a bunch of men looking at shirtless, naked men.
See, that's the most straight thing,
Yeah.
a man can do,
There,
in my
there's a
opinion.
little bit of gayness involved in bodybuilding. As a bodybuilder, I can confirm that. it's,
So
it's a
it's
sport where
like,
men rate the bodies of other men.
no,
Uh,
actually, it's like an appreciation type thing. It's really
yeah,
weird. Um,
yeah,
are you
exactly.
into anything about, like, competitive bodybuilding or competitive powerlifting
Um,
or anything like that?
I used to, but with growing interest in the more computer side of things, in terms of
Right.
like software development, and for my case specifically, like cybersecurity, right? I haven't found as much time, and I've been trying to minimize the gym, which for me personally has always been a problem because I freaking love going to the gym. I love the feeling of hitting failure. I love doing the exercises. I love trying to find out what stuff is optimal and whatnot. I love optimizing my diet and stuff. I just love the process, right? So when I'm in the gym, I'm there for like 3 hours straight, just training, right? Exercise after exercise. And that might sound like, whoa, you're so overtraining and you're doing so much. And I am, technically, but it's just so much fun that I just don't want to go home, right? And it's kind of like that's a problem for me personally. But I'm not trying to get into competitive bodybuilding or powerlifting, at least for the next few years. Maybe after a few years, I'm gonna get to a point where my body, like, obviously, I'm gonna continue bodybuilding, right? It's kind of like a passive thing you can do. It doesn't require too much effort, I would argue. Um, Except
True.
obviously, if you go into competitive bodybuilding, you're gonna have to eat 6 meals a day. You're gonna blast excessive amounts of trenbolone.
It's
So
so, but yeah,
if you do it
sometimes it's
naturally,
a
it's not
little bit
that hard.
brutal.
Yeah.
No, yeah. No, yeah, I think general sphere of bodylifting, it's a little bit weird. That's why I prefer strongman,
Yeah.
you know, just things of like that. But a lot
Yeah,
of my G
I've preferred bench pressing as well for quite some time, but just a few months ago I kind of lost the joy in it. I don't even know why, but yeah, I don't know. I've never been the type of guy that like um sees so much value in lifting a lot of weight, right? I don't know. I guess I grew up on a type of mindset of a specific person on YouTube that got me into lifting, and he would always recommend doing 15 to 20 reps, right, with lightweight. So I guess that's kind of where my initial intuition comes from, where my type of like preference. So yeah.
No, no, yeah. I would say I like the competitive power powerlifting because it's just it's just, hey, how much weight can you lift
Yeah.
on a bar?
And it's a
Basically.
direct comparison against how much better are you to the other guy. So I do really understand that from a person that has a self-identified huge ego. I do get what you mean. Like it's addicting, definitely. I can see that 100%.
No, yeah. I have appreciation for both. It's just, man, yeah, no, I get your point. There was a time when I was lifting where it was just what you just described, where it was just, you know, low rep, you know, just shit ton of reps, low volume type of uh exercise. And is that something you prefer more than anything? I guess when it comes to lifting.
I'm sorry, I read the chat message while you talked. I didn't really listen to your question. My
Oh, no
apologies.
problem, no problem at all. I was just asking when it comes to, say, just a bicep curl or
Yeah.
something, and your max limit is, you know, 5 sets a rep
Yeah.
at 80 pounds or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, would you want to push that
Yeah, of course, of
to,
course. I guess
well,
I think everybody does.
well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Everyone does, but is there a specific goal? Like, hey, I'm benching to a certain power
N-
record or
I
PR.
no. It's just purely, oh, it's a bigger number. Oh, me see bigger number, me lift more weights. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
no,
that's it
yeah.
for me personally. Or maybe when a guy, and I've been guilty of doing this, when a guy next to me is like lifting, and I'm in kg, I do not know whatever the fuck it is in pounds. When the guy next to me is lifting for bicep curls
Yeah,
like
because I
16
always,
kg, and I'm there like, okay, I can lift the 20 kg, right? I'm gonna stand next to him and lift the 20 kgs and like, I don't know, weight mog him or something, right?
yeah,
Like, I still,
right,
it's
Mog,
ego,
no,
right?
yeah, 100%. I think that's one of the biggest mental challenges as a lifter, regardless if you're doing powerlifting or bodybuilding. I think more specifically bodybuilding, that you constantly compare yourself to other people.
Yeah.
There was a certain time where I was like basically the biggest person in my gym. And then I look at Ronnie Coleman's Olympia appearance in the 90s. Like, I just got mogged. But
That's
I
why I say
definitely
get off
feel you.
social media, right? Because
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Social media, it's real. I'd say it's. I think specifically for the social aspect of it all, it counterintuitive to maybe say just generally, improving your life, and that's unfortunate. Honestly,
Yeah.
there was a lot of times where I would go to the gym, see, hey, who am I bigger than? And more so than anything, am I more little than them?
Yeah.
And it gets a little toxic. But I think the solution to that, at least for me, was just to blast the
Excessive
loudest
amounts of
nightclub
trend.
music.
Sorry.
No, no, the, this is
Sorry.
no, but basically, it was, am I the biggest, toughest
Yeah.
guy in the gym, and then someone's repping 315 pounds for reps. Then I'm just like, damn.
Yeah.
Even though I put in years into this guy is just, as a Gen Z would say, say it is really mogging. I get a little upset, but thank you for the conversation, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank
It's
you,
a
man.
great combo.
Yeah. Yeah, we still have to get what's his name? Anak on. So if you have something closing maybe or
Yeah,
uh,
let's get an icon.
alright. Yo, what's his name? Wait. I only see I ... because I have streamer mode enabled. Oh, Anak. Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yo, Troy, could you leave the stage? Would you mind?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Thanks, mate. Alright.
Yeah. So, sorry for being a little bit like confrontational with the question about the creamy.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of recommending to spend more money. I'd rather people spend less money. But
Sure.
it's not a bad
Sure.
idea for sure if you can afford it. But yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about cardio. So,
Cardio, yeah.
in my opinion, cardio for lifting in particular, cardio serves two different purposes. It can serve a fat burning purpose, but
Mm-hmm.
alongside, you need to think about your work capacity as well. Most of the time, when you have, like in most weightlifting splits, you shouldn't really be limited by work capacity. But as you get more
Yeah.
advanced or as you leave the beginning stage, you might see yourself being limited. And I mean, a lot of people actually are limited, they just don't really know it. Because the like workouts which we do, right? If we're doing like a 4 times per week split, 6 times per week split, these will kind of space your exercises very far apart over time, and you won't really notice it if you're not like super
Mm-hmm.
focused, paying a lot of attention to how long your rest intervals are. And like that's fine if you have the time, but I would think that it's fine if you have the time, but it's a good side advantage as well if we're gonna be natural lifters. It's a good side advantage to be able to both look good and then also have good cardio.
Yeah.
So for sure, it's a good idea to do running. Running is a really good way of bringing up your cardio in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's super applicable to different sport. In every sport which you do, you're running around the whole time.
Yeah.
And on top of that, running is unique in that it's one of the only types of cardio that really gets you to learn to like resist the burn in a sense, the fatigue. Like, running
Mhm.
fatigue is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate it so much. I don't run very frequently. I mostly do skipping. I mostly do burpees. Burpees are actually really good as well because they in athletics, when people have poor cardio, one of the things which you'll do obviously is you'll be prescribed to go jogging more. But one of the other things which you might be prescribed to do is to do a lot of burpees because burpees teach you to output high intensity for short periods of time, but persistently and at high quality and repeatably. And that's, sounds a lot like hypertrophy training. You
Mhm.
sit down, you do your set, you're pushing to the max, you're doing all the way to failure, and then you rest for 2, 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, probably in most, and then you
Yeah.
get back into it. And so, if you increase your cardio, you're actually, without increasing the weight or anything, you're improving the stimulus which you get out of it. You're really boosting
Yeah.
the strength which you can get just from doing cardio. Another thing is it also will improve your cardio, your recovery over time.
Yeah.
There's not like a lot of research on it. I think there's actually basically no research on it. It's kind of speculation. There's a guy on YouTube called Alex Leonidas. I'll type him in the chat.
Actually, search more.
Yeah, if you search him up on YouTube, he has really long detailed, like he's a vegan, I'm not super into veganism personally, but I do see the merits of it, even within
Yeah.
bodybuilding. And
Me personally, yeah, okay, no, we're not getting into veganism, my bad.
yeah.
It's okay.
Um, so he touts the advantages of cardio a lot, and one of the things which he mentions, which does make a lot of sense to me, is as you improve your cardiovascular capacity, your recovery can improve. And the reason your recovery can improve is just because the amount of blood which your body can flow around
Hmm.
is going to be larger. You have a larger capacity for that, and
Yep.
that tends to facilitate recovery really well. So that's one of the other reasons why you should do cardio. So you really, it's good to do cardio for fat burning, but you should also prioritize high intensity and longer forms of cardio, and that which are more intense. Maybe they'll
Yeah.
have a recovery debt, but in return, you get a lot of benefit over a long 5, 6, 10-year period.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that when doing like more what's it called? More aufwendig in English. More stressful forms of cardio, like more hard forms of cardio, like running or maybe even HIIT, right? High intensity interval cardio. That's like super beneficial for your health, right? Cardiovascularity is a big part of your health. For several reasons, as you mentioned, the ability to have more blood flow through your veins, and also having a lower resting heart rate. And I don't, I'm not that much into like high intensity cardio, so I'm not gonna make crazy claims about it, right? But I would still would say that because your glucose, like purely fat loss, like purely looking at fat loss, um, because your glucose levels aren't spiking, or right, rather, wait, is it your glucose levels? I'm getting mixed up here. Like because your cortisol isn't spiking when you walk, right? There was something about it, and your heart rate isn't spiking, then actually more energy is being taken from the fat cells in comparison to the glucose
Oh no,
inside
no,
of your
definitely.
muscles,
The
right? So purely for fat loss,
Yeah,
obviously, like low intensity cardio is the way to go. But alongside that, I would actually
yeah,
recommend
that's true.
like get you 10K steps a day in, and also have like a few cardio days a week, where you do HIIT cardio, especially, is it seems to be the best, right? For like health and cardiovascularity and VO2, GO2 max, VO2 max, VO2 max, I think it is. Um, right?
VO2 max is probably not that
Exactly.
important for us, to be honest. It's really for
Yeah,
people who are trying to optimize
yeah.
their cardio performance,
But it's
and for
also
us,
it's also like a health metric and stuff, right? Like the higher the
yeah,
VO2
yeah, for
max,
sure.
the better you live or something. Again, I don't know a lot about cardio, but purely for fat loss, like I would still recommend like a lot, like 2 3 times a day, do HIIT cardio, right? Because it's super healthy, it's super good for your body to move at all. And that's what I'm trying to get these people here to do, right? Is move at all. Because people like us, we sit at our computer chairs a lot and we program a lot and we don't get a lot of sunlight, maybe. um, I know that we as a community here are working against that, but that's why I'm pushing towards easier stuff, which in my opinion, having a stand-up desk and then a treadmill below it, and while you're programming, you're just getting your steps in and basically like saving your health with that. Like you're literally saving years of your lifespan, like of your youth, with that. Which you would also do with high intensity cardio. I feel like is a lot easier than having a dedicated cardio day, which and I say that because even I struggle with doing that, right? I'm not consistent at all with doing that. I wouldn't even say that I have dedicated cardio session or cardio training day where I do HIIT or stuff like that, because I've always hated it personally because it's so hard, right? Because I hate the feeling of my lungs just not being able to breathe, and yeah. So just for people that get into the gym, right? I would feel like getting that walking base, for people that usually sit in their chair a lot, is already good. And then on top of that, if you are consistent enough and if you have the discipline enough, which I don't personally, to do hits a few times a week, then that's obviously fucking amazing. But I didn't include it in my lecture because if I don't have the discipline enough to do that, I doubt then, like, and me being a consistent lifter for 3 years, and there's people in here who cannot consistently lift for like a month or 2 months, then I feel like that's too much to ask, right? Like, you don't want to overwhelm a new lifter with so much stuff that they absolutely need to do when you're just trying to ease them into it. Get what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. I understand that.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk about one more thing.
sure.
So when you mentioned how it's difficult to get cardio days in, so I was thinking about that. I actually my solution for it's a bit strange. I run a 2 times per week full body program.
Yeah.
So 3 times, yeah. So 3 times per week was really popular for a while. I don't particularly know why it was so popular. I think it's just a solid,
Yeah, it's a solid
it was kind of
plan, and
invented from
also
the ocean. And
like
people were like, oh, this is quite good,
yeah, also scientifically you have like the 48-hour window where after 48 hours
Oh yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
muscle start to atrophy, but it's not that deep, honestly. Like
Yeah. It's
two
just
days
a
is
good
also good.
split. 2 days is, yeah, it's what I like. I basically for like a good while. I've only been lifting for like a year and a half, so like most of my information is kind of theoretically based, but I think a lot about this stuff. And so originally I was running a 4 times per week upper lower split, kind of traditional. I was just doing upper Monday, lower Tuesday, upper Thursday, lower Friday, and the way I structure my 2 times a week full body is I basically cut my leg exercises in half because I don't really prioritize legs that much,
Mhm.
especially up to like an early intermediate or maybe
Yeah.
even a mid intermediate level.
Especially
You
when
get
you
your legs
do
only training.
especially when you do hit like sprinting, right? Like that's also
Oh
very
yeah,
heavy on the
because that's
legs.
really good
So
leg stimulus
yeah.
as well, and it's also good for like if you see really really big bodybuilders, they
Yeah.
they have a bad habit of
they've
getting injured
they've
from doing even slightly strange
yeah.
movements.
They
So if you
they
keep
they
them
have trouble
intermediate,
walking around, right? So
yeah, it's ridiculous, man. It's honestly shocking how these guys get around. But yeah, so I run 2 times per week full body, and because I run 2 times per week full body, adding in cardio days on the days after, especially because I really enjoy like doing burpees. I think burpees
yeah.
is the ultimate lift for cardio. 'Cause you're literally doing push-ups combined with jumps and combined with like a little bit of stretching while you're doing your cardio, and you don't have to do that much of it. Really, you could like one good session could be like 30 minutes. It's really nice, really efficient. I recommend you trying it.
All right, I
And
will.
yeah, and full body will naturally improve your cardio because you're doing so many exercises in one
Yeah.
session. It kind of forces you to improve your cardio, and it also forces you to shorten your rest times, which can be beneficial. If you get your cardio up to the point where you don't need to rest for as long, then I think like people say that the ideal rest time is 3 to 5 minutes. I think that maybe in 10 years, if they retested it, it will be extended to 6 to 8 because people's cardio is worsening, and maybe if they did it earlier in time, it might be slightly better. It's probably around about the same.
Yeah.
Cardio hasn't really cardio only really fell off in like the 2000s probably. I imagine throughout the 20th century it was roughly the same.
Throughout
Owing to
history
the
in
advent
general,
of
right?
really really widespread car usage.
When we had to hunt and stuff, I guess that was also like the
Yeah, if
thing.
you look back at hunter-gatherer times, we'd be
Yeah.
having a different conversation.
I mean, if you look at African tribes nowadays, right? Like they're able to run like 50K, like right? There's people doing YouTube videos where they live with African tribes and they just run and run and run, chasing after this like monkey species which they eat. And the guy is like
Yeah, it's
not
so
even able to keep up, and he's a professional runner, right? So yeah, definitely.
yeah. But yeah, so I just wanted to have a little bit of a alternative intake because I think your opinion is really good, but your opinion is also quite representative of what's close to the mainstream, and I think my opinion is
Yeah.
a little bit outside of it. I have some
Yeah, for
interesting
sure.
opinions, so I just wanted to bring those in.
Yeah.
And yeah, you had a good lecture though. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, bro. All right. Anybody else that wants to come on? Otherwise, we would be done with the lecture in total. In the end, we did lose half the people again, but that's fine. Only real Chad's Jade stayed through the entire lecture. I think. Wait, let me actually. Wait, no. Let me not disable stream mode. I don't want to leak people. Let me now disable stream mode because I cannot see the name. Erogue. I believe you went. You were here the whole lecture, right? Fucking Chad. Dude, fucking 3 hours, bro. Do you not have anything better to do, bro? Come on, bro. Get a life, man. Nah, thank you, bro. Thank you so much for being here. And all the other guys as well. Again, anybody else want to get on still, or otherwise I would end it. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people were. Troy, what do you want to talk about? Because I don't want to stretch this out too long, right? I don't know if I'm gonna run out of disk space because of recording the lecture. I guess it does. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? If you actually are able to produce like some sort of decent output while listening to a lecture like this, Galisma, then you will definitely be able to produce some sort of decent output while being on a treadmill. Like for stuff that doesn't require a lot of mental bandwidth, like just do that, you know. ML AI stuff, but no problem. I just longer to have perps for this. So yeah, I also don't have perps. Maybe iRogue can put you up there, but I'll be done with that because I do not know anything about machine learning or AI. Thank you everybody for attending. Feedback would be pretty cool if you could give me like a personal message. Shoot me a DM if you have something that you want to discuss. If you disagree with me as well, like criticizing me. I love being criticized. I love like having my flaws pointed out because that way I'd be able to work on them, right? If I stuttered a lot, if yeah, you're wrong. Okay. All right. Yeah, if I stuttered a lot, if maybe like you think one of my points is misaligned, maybe we can like chat a little bit about that. Other than that, thank you all for attending again. And yeah. Bye bye.